Just watch me win. the drama, only venom when I get my dues. Respect, I'm the next tycoon. Got a pad full of greens, couple M's my soon. Unbeliever, do you see the confidence? Got some people waiting for me on the fence. I live it, but never see me on the fence. Best believe that when I win, it's common sense. I'm designed to fly, defeat all demise. The best me, no fear, no compromise. 100 degrees, I breathe more to life. You should disconnect and throw in the wise. And the hand that's in this, gotta back it up a high percentage. Got a heart in my sleeve, non-stop. Stepping up to the sea, more shots. Getting those I'm alive, unleashed in the fire. Out in the wild, you can never stop me. Watch me dive and free, and it's my time. Up in the stars, you'll never forget me. But not holding back on the side, only get better with time. Ready to own what is mine tonight. I'm alive, unleashed in the fire. Out in the wild, you can never stop me. Yeah, I never wait up. Flowers say so they coming on the way up. A true fighter's what they always been afraid of. Cards had it close on my circle when I lay up. Switch the game every quarter like a time zone. Aim for the bus, tryna build up to this mind zone. Pave the way with only items that I might own. Imagine what I'm about to do, be an icon. Ain't a problem, just the haters that I might know. It's a night show, the way I'm about to make a movie with these lights. Know the one they be like me, they can try. All gold, everything when I write. Can repeat it, every legend gotta fight. A new world, when I flip, make it tight. Ain't nobody doing minutes how I like. Seat buckled up, going up like a bike. I'm alive, unleashed in the fire. Out in the wild, up in the sky, into the light. Watch me dive and free, and it's my time. Up in the stars, with every stride, our future's bright. Cause I'm on to the next. The way I shape shifts makes them call me a threat. Running on this path, never done, no regrets. There is nothing you can do when my face on the set. You're in front of the best. Different league if you wanna get to me. I give him pedigree. Yeah, I only got a picture on the centerpiece. I'm alive, unleashed in the fire. Out in the wild, you can never stop me. Watch me dive and free, and it's my time. Up in the stars, you'll never forget me. But not holding back on the side, only get better with time. Ready to own what is mine tonight. I'm alive, unleashed in the fire. Out in the wild, you can never stop me. One touch from you takes me to paradise, paradise. One look from you and I fall in your arms, in your arms. Baby don't stop, baby don't stop it. And give me your love, give me your love, give me your loving. Say that you want, say that you want, say that you want it. Cause this is my love, this is my love. Something about you feels like heaven came along. Baby, can you feel it? Can you feel it? Something that you do makes me feel like we belong. Baby, can you feel it? Can you feel One kiss from you is like a fantasy, fantasy. It's like you go beyond my wildest dream, wildest dream. Baby don't stop, baby don't stop, baby don't stop it. And give me your love, give me your love, give me your loving. Say that you want, say that you want, say that you want it. Cause this is my love, this is my love. Something about you feels like heaven came along. Baby, can you feel it? Can you feel it? Something that you do makes me feel like we belong. Baby, can you feel it? Can you feel it?
I don't know why we parted. I don't know what went wrong. I just know that I want your body here with me tonight. With me tonight. You know what I need, know just where to touch. Make me feel like I can't explain. Oh no, don't you leave, it's just a bit of fun. You know how to drive me insane. I know it shouldn't feel right, but baby, don't go. Just love me all night. Just love me all night. 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 All night. Tell me you want me, baby. Tell me I'm not alone. Tell me you wanna be with me tonight. With me tonight. With me tonight. You know what I need, know just where to touch. Make me feel like I can't explain. Oh no, don't you leave, it's just a bit of fun. You know how to drive me insane. I know it shouldn't feel right, but baby, don't go. Just love me all night. Just love me all night. 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 All night.
It shouldn't feel right, but baby, don't go. Just let me all night.
Just love me all night. All night. Just love me all night. All night. Just love me all night. All night. Just love me all night. All night.
Don't need no thing. Ain't into bling. Just use enough. You fill me up. I don't care for diamond rings. I just crave the simple things, 'cause that's what I want. That's what I want. I don't need no fancy car. I'll take you just the way you are, 'cause that's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want. Don't need no thing. Ain't into bling. Just use enough. You fill me up. I don't care for diamond rings. I just crave the simple things, 'cause that's what I want. That's what I want. I don't need no fancy
Don't you wanna tell me about the time that we felt free? Turn your eye on the halo that you give yourself daily. Give me a new ending, cause I'm running free tonight. Don't want that story, wanna love and live my life. Always talking about where we'll be, gonna move out of the city. Spending our time daydreaming, living our life like a movie. I'm the only one who can make me whole. Pick me up, I'm the only one. Gonna ride this feeling and write a new beginning. I don't wanna pretend that everything I wanted was gone in the end. And I don't wanna pretend again. And I don't need to pretend I'm living in this moment, I'm living my best. Cause I don't need to pretend. Don't live life in envy, shine a bright energy. With the waves I'm making, gotta make sure I'm happy. I'm the only one who can make me whole. Pick me up, I'm the only one. I'm gonna ride this feeling and write a new beginning. And I don't wanna pretend that everything I wanted was gone in the end. And I don't wanna pretend again. And I don't need to pretend I'm living in this moment, I'm living my best. Cause I don't need to pretend. And I don't wanna pretend that everything I wanted was gone in the end. And I don't wanna pretend again. And I don't need to pretend I'm living in this moment, I'm living my best. Cause I don't need to pretend.
Feel the thorns embrace. Death is in bloom. None will escape my grasp.
It's just a scarecrow. Aren't you afraid?
Step light, strike hard. Crack 'em like a tomb.
I go where the trouble is.
Let's go. Sicker than the wizard with a top hat. So heavy when I drop it like a backpack. Chit chat, better stick it in the WhatsApp. Looking at the glitter in your Snapchat. What's that? You break like a plate in an earthquake on the first day, like a clown at birthday. Too late, gotta wait for the first.
牛啊，这个球！菜呢？
Welcome back, everyone, to Wild Rift League Asia Season 2. We're back once again. My name is Infinity, and together with me is Crazy Apple. Crazy Apple, how have you been?
I've been good. Yesterday was a very exciting match between Thundertalk and KBG. And now we're heading into another upper bracket series between two of our big heavyweights in the CN conference, which is going to be between EDG and Trace Esports. And I can't be more excited to see maybe a different flavor we're going to see here between these two powerhouses from the CN conference.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned about the possibility of these two titans to really just headbutt each other, because in the perspective of the regular stages that we've had, even in the prior month, is that EDG is pretty much on a roll. They got a lot of wins, they got a lot of streaks, and they were able to win and take the first series loss up against Thunder Talk and the first series loss of Trace Esports in their what we call an amazing win streak in the regular stages.
Definitely. For EDG, right? It's an incredible win streak. Just double checking as well. They did complete a 10 series win streak in the league. I believe it's the highest because they're the ones, as you mentioned, the ones who broke the win streak of both Thunder Talk as well as Trace Esports, which they got like about up to 8 in terms of the matches. But yeah, just also informing everyone in terms of the roadmap of where we're at right now in the tournament. We are currently in the playoff stage. Whoever will be winning in today's series will be moving forward to the next part of our upper bracket, and they would be just one series win away from securing a spot in the finals, which will be happening later on February 1 to February 3 of this year.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, when it comes to the format that we've had, when it comes to the roadmap, it's pretty much similar to what we have been seeing even in the past few days. When it comes to the roadmaps, pretty much similar. And when it comes to the format, it is reflecting, and it's a mirror thing when it comes to the prior season. So pretty much expectations have been set here. So it's a CNCN matchup that we've had here. Crazy Apple, really exciting. Over the past few weeks, we had the conclusion of the APAC conference, wherein it was KD Rolster and G2 Blacklist who was able to push through. And this time around, when it comes to the CN conference, this is the time we're looking at these CN teams who will be able to secure the 2 spot they had to go into the Wild Rift League Asia finals.
Yeah, as you mentioned, right, the playoffs brackets are being shown right now on your screens. Yesterday, as we were talking about earlier at the start of the broadcast, it was KBG who eventually won out against Thunder Talk, putting Thunder Talk down into that losers bracket, which they will be facing Nova Esports later on in the bracket. While today, whoever wins between EDG and Trace Esports will be facing KBG, and the loser will be facing off against FPX. And definitely you would want to be in that upper bracket and immediately get into the winner side, because there's a lot of matches that you'll be facing down there in the losers bracket. You would rather be in a more secure spot heading to the finals.
It gives you so much advantage going into the top part of the bracket in the winners bracket that we've had. Once again, EDG versus Trace Esports is the series that we're gonna look at for today's matchups. But as we were talking about it, the top bracket, the winners bracket, is pretty much a clear road into the qualifying spot, because you only have to battle one more series, pretty much upper bracket finals, and then you're secured already. In comparison into the lower bracket we're in, there's so much series to really go about.
Yeah, definitely. That's why kind of there is that clear advantage, right, when you're in the upper bracket. And definitely this team right here on your screens, EDG, would want to get or rather to get further in that upper bracket and secure their spot in the finals. Exong the Baron lane, 0711 the jungle, you in the mid lane alone in the Dragon lane, as well as Langui in the support. We have seen this team had a bit of a rough start when it comes to the regular season, losing their first 3 series, but after that they didn't really look back, getting a 10 win streak, only falling in their last series of the regular season.
Yeah, and right now looking at the flip side is Trace Esports. It's Lee Sao in the Baron lane, Huiba in the jungle, Korn into the mid lane, Yusa in the bottom lane along with Tak. And every single time when we're really looking into the junglers, it's Huiba consistently outperforming these junglers in the CN conference and even APAC conference in the respective series. So eyes on Huiba later on to really perform and be one of the dependencies for Trace.
Yeah, dependencies as well as the main win condition, right? When it comes to Trace Esports, Huiba is really the linchpin of this team. And whenever we're talking about Trace Esports, whenever we're looking in their drafts, we're always focusing on what Huiba is going to be picking up. He's going to be picking up more of a playmaker. He's going to pick up more of a late game carry role for his team. And he has shown a bit of flexibility as well, although this team, Trace Esports, I feel is the one has a higher propensity to be picking more of those carry junglers compared to the other teams we've seen.
Yeah, and when it comes to the stats, it's very similar, right? The CN conference teams have pretty much a vision into the objectives. So we've had First Dragon, we have 50% to EDG, Trace Esports has 65%, but pretty much these are like back and forths depending on what composition you have. Do you want that early game snowball potential and the first herald will be much more favorable to you, or do you want that scaling possibility and getting the dragon and then having that chance to secure the soul?
Yeah, it also kind of shows here, right, in terms of the team setters, is just very slight advantage when it comes to first dragons for Trace Esports, and kind of shows their priority in that respect, as well as the same numbers when it comes to first herald and first tower. Maybe it shows that they're a lot more successful whenever they get the first herald, that they immediately take down a turret. In comparison to the series that we saw yesterday between Thundertalk and KBG, it wasn't always the case. So that's also one thing that we're gonna look at as we head into this series.
Yeah, and I love this head-to-head. Jumping into this series that we've had on our hands, it's the jungler matchup. It's a jungler head-to-head. 0711 up against Huiba. Huiba consistently performs really well into each and every single match they have. When it comes to the KDA, this really varies from time to time, because in some series you want to be aggressive, in some series you don't want to be aggressive, and this also depends on the composition that you have. So this does not really just reflect how these two teams are really strong into. But when you're looking at other stats that we're going to have, kill participation, damage percentage, and also the DTPM, it's Huiba across the board who outshines 0711 by quite a bit. And I think this really just states how good Huiba is in the jungle.
Yeah, because Huiba is really the guy who is the catalyst for Trace Esports. So most of the times he's the one who's there in the fights, in the thick of it, and then he gets targeted, and maybe that's why he has slightly lower KD compared to EDG, especially 0711. EDG as a team is just so aggressive, starting off even in just the early game. That's why, in terms of like maybe the kill participation isn't quite there for the jungler, because the laners themselves have just been starting fights, doing these skill checks, and it's definitely something to look forward to when we see these two teams match up.
Yeah, and on the other lanes as well, if we're observing mid lane, we have you and we also have Korn. In this regard, it's you who outshines Korn in pretty much in most cases. Really have 6 KDA, 62% kill participation, and overall EDG really just improved so much compared to the first couple of weeks that we've had in the regular stages. And I believe this comes from, one of the new coaches coming into EDG that was able to really mend the connections and the chemistries here for this team to shine in Wild Rift League Asia.
Yeah, looking at the past few matches as well for Trace Esports, because I was thinking in my head, it's not always Korn that we usually see in the mid lane. Sometimes we also see Yusa. So right now Trace Esports is playing around their roster. In a sense, they might be fielding Korn for this game. Maybe we'll see Yusa later on in this series, and that might factor in for this one, because similar with yesterday's series as well, SMY was not the one who played the support role for Thunder Talk. So we are seeing the Chinese teams making full use of their rosters, making use of their substitutions as well. So we'll see how will that affect. But before we head into the match, we'll be heading into the player intros.
Hello， 各位现场以及屏幕前的召唤师们，大家晚上好，欢迎来到英雄联盟手游职业联赛 WRLA 的比赛现场，我是小优。今天依旧是森恩赛区胜者组的较量，即将登场的是常规赛排名第2的 EDG 战队和排名第3的 TE 战队。势均力敌的两支战队势必会带来一场巅峰对决，谁能锁定胜决席位，离冠军梦想更进一步？答案留给赛场。下面让我们有请 Edward Gaming 以及 Trace Esports。Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wild Rift League Asia. I'm Peggy. Today is still the CN division of the winner group contest. The upcoming is the regular season ranked 2nd EDG team and ranked 3rd TE team. The two teams of parity is bound to bring a peak showdown. Who can lock the winner group final seed? One step closer to the championship dream. The answer is left to the field. Now let's welcome Edward Gaming and Trace Esports.
今天不说垃圾话，把挥发当垃圾打。
反弹，反弹，反弹。
And the host stated it all. This matchup will dictate who's the team who will be one step closer to the qualifying spot in Wild Rift League Asia Finals. But that's pretty much it. It's EDG versus Trace.
Yeah. We also saw, I think, the guy who spoke for the side of Trace Esports was Yusa. So maybe it's gonna be Yusa instead of Korn playing for game 1. We'll see when it comes to the draft. Also, I just a bit of a side note as well. Every time I hear these teams like go for these banter, go for these for like a bit of a trash talk, or rather the banter, right? I feel like for this time around, it's the first time I might have understood. I think he just said Fanta. So I'm like, maybe I understood this time. Right? Anyway, there's a bit of a side thing as we get into this series, right? We'll be seeing if it's Yusa, because Yusa has been more of the, I would say, for the side of Trace Esports, has performed more consistently in the lineup, but I think it's still gonna be Korn, says in terms of the introductions, he is the one being introed right now into the stage.
Yeah. The walkthrough coming into the stage, where we're seeing these teams already come in, but Yusa also shows up, but instead of going into the mid lane, he will be present in the Dragon lane, which will be interesting. from what you have been
Ooh.
mentioning, Crazy Apple, Yusa, Korn,
最后有请
interchangeable
双方辅
coming
助
into the
登
mid
场
lane, but this
and
time
the
around,
support,
looks like
EDG,
they're going on
浪鬼
into the same
T,
into the
TAC.
same lineup, into the same comp, but on different lanes.
Yeah. If that's the case, right? We have been seeing a lot of mid laners also use marksman. Marksman champions, especially in the past couple of series that we have seen, there has been a huge, huge preference to Lucian, to Corki, Zeri, as well as Ezreal. These are like the 4 main marksmen being played in both in the mid lane as well as the dragon lane. So maybe that changed, having 2 mid laners who are also kind of marksman players as well. Maybe something to see, or maybe it will benefit Trace Esports, because looking at the match records as well of the regular season, as you mentioned earlier, EDG was the one who stopped Trace Esports from their win streak with the 2-0 win record. EDG so far has beat a lot of the top teams to be able to get the 2nd spot in the regular season themselves as well. And maybe this change up, maybe the change up on the positions for the mid laners to put, as you mentioned, Yusa in the dragon lane might just be that key here. That's something that Trace Esports is looking for to be able to turn the favor towards them.
Yeah, it would be so. And I think this shift is actually not as unexpected, because over the past, especially coming into Wild Rift League Asia Season 2, how the meta has evolved in comparison to year 0, year 1 of Wild Rift Esports, ADCs has been on the rise, right? And this time you're seeing it in the mid lane, you're seeing it into the bottom lane, and yes, AP champions are still coming through with the likes of Zoe or even Vladimir. But in theory, these mid lanes and the bottom lanes are supposed to be knowledgeable about these champions. They need those flexibilities, they need those power to adapt into those situations, having a very varied champions time and time again. So that's something that we could expect coming into this game. So Yusa coming through the bottom lane for Trace Esports is not really a massive surprise. But coming into game number 1, it's already in the draft. Vi and Kha'Zix immediately removed by both these teams.
Yeah, a lot of early game junglers being taken away by both of these teams. Vi and Kha'Zix, as you mentioned, Camille as well being taken out. We do see Camille being played in the Baron lane, but yesterday we have seen it a lot in the jungle. It provides a lot of strong pressure when it comes to these mid-game fights, especially when the first turrets are down. Whenever a split pusher like a Fiora is on the side lanes, a Camille can just jump in and come in for these ganks, giving one of the teams, whoever has the Camille, an early advantage when it comes to an objective fight, especially the second Drake, which we have been seeing to have been one of the more swingier objectives. Whoever wins on the second Drake fights have usually been the team to dictate the late game.
Yeah, I love this, right? Crazy Esports banning away the Hecarim as well removes that possibility to enter the competition for the likes of EDG this time. But Gragas, if they want more of that flexibility, still open Ornn as well. These are one of the traditions when it comes to priority, if you want that hidden mystery onto other lanes. But Akali to be locked in by EDG immediately just dictates how they really want to give that comfortability onto you.
Yeah, as well as a big damage threat on the mid lane as well in the hands of Yo. Will be able to jump on these AD carries, as any of the marksmen being picked here by Trace Esports would be in danger when it comes to these team fights. But with the Shen being left open, this leaves it to be picked up for the side of Trace Esports. You do expect it to be in the hands of Hueba in the jungle. This is also a really good pick, kind of a substitute to Camille as well, because in the side lanes, when this Fiora will be shoving in and she needs some help, or just to go for a more proactive play, the Shen can just pop the Stan United and immediately make it into a 2v1 fight.
Yeah, in EDG locks in onto the Jace. We've seen Jace become nerfed onto the recent patch that we've had. Patch 4.4D to be more specific, do not excel as much when it comes to the jungle roles. It will be interesting how EDG will play the Jace here coming into this matchup, but Renekton will follow through, and Trace Esports will answer with the possibility of a Vladimir pick going into Korn.
Yeah, it's a bit of a more safer pick. Just having a control mage in the mid lane allows Trace Esports to have a bit more variety when it comes to their marksman picks later on. But without any supports being picked up by both of these teams so far, we do expect a lot of the traditional engaged supports being taken away. Alistar for starters, Ornn and Gragas and Galio might be following suit in the ban list.
Yeah, Alistar being banned away as well for Trace Esports. Gragas and Ornn could be one of the options for Trace. This is very clever for EDG because the thing is, Trace Esports needs to only ban away one of these champions, Gragas or Ornn, whether it may be, and EDG, if they don't ban another support in trade for Trace Esports, Trace will just get a free flexible support coming into their lineup. So this is really clever here. Now Zeri will be removed by Trace Esports. Now it will depend on EDG. What do they want to ban away? If Ornn is left open, Trace could pick it up, but Ashe will be removed instead.
Yeah, leaving both of those supports in the pool. Actually, the focus for Trace Esports does go into the marksman position. They do get the Sivir, which will allow the Vladimir to get into these fights a lot better. Whenever she pops her ultimate, it will give the movement speed to the members of Trace Esports, and it will allow this Vladimir to get to the back lines. But I do like the answer as well, having a safe marksman pick in the Xayah. She just needs to pop her ultimate to dodge a lot of the damage coming in from a Vladimir.
Yeah, and this is also a pretty much a good pickup coming for the side of EDG. We all know that a Sivir really accelerates that team fighting potential on a team composition, and banning it away means that Sivir will not have a much more easier time, given the fact that Nautilus is one of the strongest early game supports in the game right now. So Trace Esports has to really just put on their back foot, step back a bit, and pick up the Galio instead.
Yeah, I also like the Galio because it provides a lot of global pressure right now coming in here for Trace Esports, because it's not only the Shen, also the Galio having that semi-global ultimate to be used whenever a side lane gets pushed. Right now, with the compositions of both teams for Trace Esports, they're the team who can just hunker down, scale into this mid to late game fights, because Sivir is going to deal so much damage in the clump up fights. Vladimir as well will be able to do the same thing if they can just play a bit more safely in the early game, not give up a lot of gold against EDG, which we kind of expect to be aggressive coming into this game one. Then Trace Esports might just have these openings to be able to punish mistakes and get leads against the composition that EDG is manning for game one.
Yeah, we'll see if they're going to pursue for that, because as you have mentioned, so much global presence for the side of Trace. Although on the flip side, when it comes to that damage aspect, they need quite a bit to be able to reach that point. But for the side of EDG, they have a strong balance of early game champions and late game champions. So we'll see who takes game one coming into the series. It's EDG versus Trace.
Yeah, game one here of this best of 7 series. When it comes to our best of 7s in the CN conference in particular, we have been seeing a lot of wins when it comes to the blue side. Yesterday it was kind of different. We did see 2 red side wins yesterday, but there has still been a more prevalence in the blue side, and with game 1 being in the hands of EDG for the blue side, kind of expect for them to get a bit of early start in this series. But still, as you mentioned, there is a bit of a balance when it comes to competition. EDG, they have the early game, they have the late game as well. But it comes for Trace Esports, they have ways to capitalize on overextensions and over commits from EDG because of the 2 globals that they have. If Trace Esports is able to punish any of those overextensions coming from EDG, it may very well just be a Trace Esports victory for game 1.
100%. We'll see if Trace Esports can find that victory, because from the past, it is EDG who's able to land side win up against Trace Esports. From what we have mentioned a while ago, EDG is pretty much the Titan Slayers, the God Slayers coming into the CN conference, on how they're able to break the win streak for the likes of Trace, for the likes of Thunder Talk. So huge respects should still be given coming into this matchup. And EDG, really the surprising part about their composition, how Jace comes through into their lineup, given how it was nerfed in the past, given also that Aatrox and the likes are still open into a pickup. So it will be interesting how EDG will be able to capitalize on to the likes of their jungler to go aggressive early on, given how much advantage as well it is compared to Shen in the early game.
Well, I think right now for Jace, right, especially in game 1, so but for that, Langui going in.
Versus Punch as well, but pretty much a trade of supports very tanky innately. so no kills will still be locked in.
Yeah, could have been a bit more dangerous if EDG or Trace Esports kind of overcommitted into that fight, but as you mentioned, just two tanky supports trading things out on the bot side. But going back to your point, right, in the Jace being a bit nerfed when it comes to the jungle position, kind of similar as well to some of the popular junglers that we have seen that are more traditionally in the solo lanes, like Aatrox as well, has been nerfed in terms of his clear. A lot of his abilities, or especially his his first ability, is only a 70% damage right now to monsters. So there is a bit of a nerf in terms of that, but especially for games 1 of a best of 7 series, you kind of try to bank on comfort. But top side though, 0711 does get spotted here.
Will get spotted by a ward by Lee Sao. A good placement coming in from the Fiora for the side of Trace Esports to gain information on possible ganks. So EDG will not be able to get that gank through on the top side of the map.
Yeah, it's a lot of wards actually. The top side of the map here for EDG, really giving a lot of safety here for Shang in the top side. But now, as we mentioned, right, there's not really a lot of aggressive plays that Trace Esports needs to do, because they just are very much fine with scaling into these fights, trying to go for these clump up layer on big team fights with a Sivir, with a Vladimir, to really make use a lot of their AoE. Not to mention as well, Galio thrives in those kinds of fights because he can just have a lot of easy taunt targets around him, especially looking at the composition that EDG is manning. It's only really the Xayah who would have more often than not be far away for the members of Trace Esports, but 07 is here for the game.
Attack being exhausted, all reused on the ADCs. Attack brought down to half HP, but typical of tank supports, not that easy to burst down. And remember, we still have Shen availability for Trace, so that could be a stand united coming into the bottom lane that could change the tide of that full-on engage.
Yeah, and that might have been as well what EDG is backing on, right? To burn the stand united, it has a long cooldown. If you're able to burn the stand united before we get into this 5-minute mark when we get these objectives, might have been something they were looking at. But unfortunately, the feather placement also wasn't really in their favor because the Xayah was hitting the marksman. It wasn't really behind the tank which they initiated the fight on. If they were able to root down the tank, it might have forced down the stand united. But now, as it stands, we're going back into these farming, getting lane controls, and we also see the swaps right now with Sivir as well as the Xayah being brought to the mid lane.
Brought into the mid lane. This is very traditional right now when it comes to Wild Rift. Given 4 minutes and 30 seconds, these dual lanes will switch into the mid lanes. This is what we have been talking about during the draft, right? How the mid laners and bottom laners really should be adaptable and flexible when it comes to these champions, because eventually these two lanes will switch every single time to gain advantage when it comes to objective. Now Langby having the Drench line on the attack, buying time as well for EDG to go for the Rift Herald, but Trace Esports will take it in the end. It's a 1-for-1 objective trade. EDG takes the Rift Herald.
Yeah, it's a handshake between these two teams. EDG takes the Herald while the Dragon is secured by Trace Esports. But a very early commit here in the Herald on the top side. It will be secured by EDG. First turret does go to them, also giving a bit of a gold infusion right now. A lot of attention actually being put up here in the top side. They might have tried to get Shelly a second tackle into the turret, but nah, it didn't happen. Trace Esports was able to stop that, and so the top side is a lot open. It allows now for EDG to put wards near that river, especially in the tri-bush in the top side. But we usually see Herald plays being put down in the mid lane because you are able to have the map more open. So for EDG, they won't be having that, at least for the early part of this game.
Yeah, for the early part, that will not be something that EDG will be able to take, or Trace Esports, even if we're gonna look at it like tier 1 turrets are still available coming into the mid lane of the map here. EDG though, X-Jang, much damage onto Hueva, but in danger with Lisa coming through as well. They have so many members for the side of Trace Esports to come into fray immediately. When full-on engage happens, they have a lot of global presence, as you have discussed a while ago during the draft, so EDG still has to be wary of that.
Yeah, EDG really respecting the defenses that Trace Esports putting up. But Yusa getting cut out.
Branch line onto one, Stand United onto Yusa. Gives a lot of sustainability. Ignite will not be enough, and now will be Trace Esports who answers back with Alone being the first blood for Trace.
Yeah, we were just talking about how EDG was respecting the defensive play coming from Trace Esports, and they just calculated the damage that they had a bit too short. I would say, because Yusa almost went down right here. The Stand United was a bit late, but you could say it was also very clutch right here, allowing Hueba to get into the fight and even catching Alone being caught out, giving the first blood towards Trace Esports.
Yeah, it was Alone who became too aggressive. He used the flash to go over the hill, wherein you already had the Stand United, which was one of the expectations there. But on top of that, he also used the Feather Storm to be able to try and snag up that kill and clutch up onto that 1 HP for Yusa, but it still was not enough. Yusa was too far ahead to go into the Honey Fruit, so that was the price to pay. How EDG really goes this hyper-aggressive playstyle time and time again. If ever they continue, it's not looking that good for EDG.
Yeah, it's not looking good as of yet for EDG here. But again, it's just only been 1 kill, 1 tower in their favor so far. Gold is slightly for them. We do see a lot of attention being put here in this mid lane because EDG knows if they're able to take down that turret, it opens up a lot of possibilities for them. But sadly, it's a Sivir, and we all know how strong Sivir is at clearing up waves.
Corn, Sanguine Pole, burst it out, Shuriken Flip. Already hits out, but the ultimate from Korn saved himself to the depths of you.
Yeah, that could have been a big kill in the bot side, because for your EDG, if they're able to wrestle control, a better wrestle control over here, it would stretch the resources of Trace Esports and allow them to have more openings in destroying these turrets. But luckily there for the Vladimir, wasn't able to be taken down, still had more HP to work around the Shuriken Flip that Yo was able to hit on Korn. And now, it's still very passive between these two teams, not a lot of movements. I believe we're gonna see a lot more explosivity when we get into the second Drake fight. But actually, EDG about to secure a turret here in the bot side.
They will secure that turret, and this will give them a lot of advantage and priority. Coming into the next dragon that we've had, 15 seconds left before Infernal Drake comes up, and EDG securing that tier 1 into the bottom lane. Gives them a good position and map control advantage.
So a lot of map control advantage because they can shove the bot side of the map effectively without the first turret there. Mid lane is being heavily defended here by Trace Esports. Well, EDG already putting up wards into the dragon. Oh no!
Jumps in over the hill, stuns connects. That will be 1 man down as Galio is removed from the comp of Trace Esports. But you coming into the bottom lane also in danger. It's a 2v1. Lisa going in with the lunge as well, directly hitting Akali. And EDG going to fight 4v4 up against Trace. Trace wants to contest this. 2k HP remaining. The only one left standing as Trace steals it away from EDG. There's no more value to go to that, and EDG just lost it.
Yeah, EDG lost the Drake right there. It was Hueba who got the second smite off. I believe for EDG, they went for the earlier smite around 1,200 HP. But Hueba, ever patient in that dragon take, was able to secure the Infernal Drake for Trace Esports, netting them the Dragon Soul point in this game. As we see the replay right here, we're actually going to see the kill on Yo in the bot side. Yo, I think he was just trying to go for this, for a trade here against Korn, not really knowing where Lee Sao is. Unfortunately for him, he met up with 2 players of Trace Esports, and in the end, he was taken down. At this point in time, it was a solo laner that was down for the side of EDG, while only a support down for Trace Esports. That's why when we saw the dragon fight, Trace Esports was very much confident in trying to steal that Drake away.
Yeah, and once again, from what we have mentioned, the EDG's composition wants those early game leads. They have the Jace, they have the Nautilus. These are early game champions. When it comes to those battles, when it comes to those engages, they should have won it because they want those snowball potential. But right now, Trace Esports really on a position of advantage as they're really on a stronghold up against EDG.
Yeah, Trace Esports is in the position that they want themselves to be, as we were talking about, right? They don't really need to do a lot of things. They don't need to be super proactive across the map. Yes, they have the tools to be proactive, but that is not what is being asked of them at this point in time. Although, if you do give EDG an inch, they can also take a mile with the composition that they have. We just saw as well how strong the poke is coming out from the Jace. If EDG is able to take advantage of this, of trying to take the mid lane or even some of these objective fights, it would push out some of the carries from Trace Esports. So honestly, things are still up in the air here, but at the same time, Trace Esports has been doing a great job holding on to this mid lane turret.
Ooh, Drench Lane was missed just because the Justice Punch step back. Those micro plays. I'm not gonna get bored of that any time of day. It's just too good. But pretty much Trace Esports right now in EDG is on even footing. But what makes Trace Esports on pretty much a big advantage from here on forward is the tier 1 turret into the mid lane and also the objectives they were able to secure. The first 10 minutes off that game, 2 dragons already. So it's really good setup.
And that's why sometimes I feel like it's worth it to just throw the Herald in the mid lane, even if it doesn't immediately kill the turret. Just to put it down at like 400 HP or sub 500 is enough of a threat. You just need to hit it a couple more times and the tower falls down. Unlike in what EDG did earlier, it was to take down the top side turret to get that immediate gold infusion. The longer the game goes, the longer the teams will be able to mitigate that, because gold doesn't really matter the later game, especially when you get to the late game, because everyone's gonna be full build, and especially with the composition that Trace Esports has, they're gonna be able to make use of their items a lot more against EDG. Because looking at the composition as well, right, for EDG, Renekton not exactly known to be strong in the late game, especially in the side lane situations against these South Fiora, where Fiora is really strong. She can burst down these tanky champions, especially she already has the Hull Breaker finish on her side. Just gonna be super strong in the side lanes here for the Fiora. Sivir as well, really strong. Her boomerangs can just bounce around with their crits, as well as the Vladimir. For the EDG's Jace on 0711, Jace feels like he will always scales a bit less when it comes to these later fights. So we're gonna see how EDG adapts, because they're on a bit of a timer compared to what Trace Esports has.
They definitely are. 0711 used up the Shock Blast, but once again, Sivir is a very unique champion in the X-Jam. Flashes in along with Dominus. Korn is stuck. Stand United has to be forced away, but 0711 and Langui goes in for the back flank. Korn is in danger. One more shot from far away. The Shock Blast secures it. The 5v4 that brings EDG on an advantage. Perfect execution across 2 members. And now Yusa is in danger along with Tak. But EDG on a fair share of HP disadvantage. This Hueba is trying to run away over the mid lane.
Yeah, Hueba might just be able to get out of here because it's only the Xayah chasing him down. But what a great play right there from EDG. Immediately seeing a target, immediately going for the kill. This has netted them a couple of kills to their side, as well as the Dragon, denying Dragon Soul away from Trace Esports. As we head into this replay right here, it's gonna all start out with X-Jung. An immediate flash stun on the Vladimir. It felt like things could go south for them at this point in time, because the answer from Trace Esports was running towards them, but EDG just kept hanging on. The thing with these kinds of fights is these are the things that are not in the script, not in the book. It's so unexpected that when teams are trying to play by the book, they can just get caught out, and that's what felt like how Trace Esports lost that fight, and how EDG just caught them by surprise.
But it's a good thing. They have to force that. EDG has to force that issue and has to force that engage, because we have to look at the prior situation before that fight. It was Trace Esports who has one dragon away to get the soul, and that was the Ocean Drake. With that engage, winning for the side of EDG, they could get the Ocean Drake. They could deny the soul. Now this brings it on a much more unfavorable state for Trace Esports, not having the soul for the likes of EDG.
Yeah, but right now, looking at the bot side, it's still Lee Sao with a big advantage here on Xiao Zhang. It's not gonna be easier for him as the game goes on. But yeah, as in your point, right, it deters or it it stops Trace Esports clear road into the late game, and EDG kind of just making that more murky at this point. We also saw him just being in the thick of it on that Akali, bringing so much damage down into the composition of Trace Esports. And you could say it's also one of the weaknesses of Sivir, being such a short range marksman. She gets hit by a lot of the damage coming in from EDG, and now these two teams are just scaring each other. The Baron
goes in for the face check. Patton immediate Justice Punch. And now Drenchline over the backside, followed up by Renekton. It's Lee Sao who will be the target. Immediate Stasis Enchant to buy time. Xjang is down low already despite the Dominus availability. This forces them to retreat as Trace Esports bites them in the back.
It was EDG really staring down Trace Esports, and Tak just saying, no, we can't just have any of this. We're gonna go in. We're gonna try and fight you off of this Baron pit, and they have done that successfully, netting them some wards, netting them a bit of control over the Baron pit. But unfortunately for them, they weren't able to put down any wards, because I believe Tak might have finished up his supply. But Elder Drake is up right now, and both of these teams are looking at that big objective.
That's a bigger objective that we're talking about. The Elder Drake. Korn already down low with one Shock Blast.
Not this damage, yeah, that's accelerated Shock Blast, putting him to half HP. But still Vladimir able to recoup that HP bar. But EDG having full control over the river right now. It's a bit of a dangerous proposition for Trace Esports to just walk in here. There's still Nautilus that can catch them out. Yo on the sidelines can jump on the back line. EDG in such a good position right here, although Alone is a bit far away from the fight that's brewing between these two teams.
Yeah, and Trace Esports has to hunt Alone, because if Alone is left open and getting those free hits, it will be danger. And now Pack, Justice Punch knocks up onto Langui as Langui has to force out the stasis. And Weiba, the perfect taunt that they did. It's Trace Esports who now gets a numbers advantage. Here's Entrance, come in into Dragon's Pit as Yu is in danger, has to force out the flash to retreat over the hills, and that will be Trace who takes the Elder Drake.
Now Trace gets the Elder Drake, gets a kill as well, and for Trace Esports, great timing on the fight. I love how the Observer also showed us that there was a ward that spotted out the Akali. As soon as the Akali went out of vision, as soon as she was far away, Trace Esports caught out the Nautilus and put him down. That gave them enough of space, enough of an advantage in that Elder Drake fight to net them that objective. Top getting catch.
Just has to force away the flash as well. Weiba goes for the taunt, but Alone use up the Feather Storm to buy time. Weiba used up the flash as well with a smite, slows him down, and Weiba with the Elder Drake goes for the execute.
Yeah, and Alone left as his namesake, all alone right there in the river. He couldn't do anything against Weiba's Shen. Has really so strong at this point, having that Elder Drake as well. Then Trace Esports is destroying turrets in the mid lane.
Force out Dominus, but Yuza is on the hunt. A lot of mobility for Tak and Yuza as well combined. It's just a force to be reckoned with for Trace Esports. That could really just landside EDG. So respects have to be given. They have to burn away the Elder Drake along with the Baron buff. But Lee Sao split pushing into the bottom side. Another wall that EDG has to face. Baron already going through as Inhibitor into the mid lane has fallen.
Yeah, mid lane has fallen. Inhibitor turret has gone down. That is an opening for the super minions. Bot lane as well has fallen here. EDG's base is in tatters as they try to defend against the onslaught that is Trace Esports.
Korn jumps in with the Proto Belt as well. Alone will be able to go in for the Feather Storm. Now Lee Sao in the front lines has to force out a flash along with the stasis, but Nexus will be open and Trace will strike first in the series.
Trace takes first blood here in our best of 7 series, the second in the upper bracket second match. They're able to take down EDG, exact their revenge from the previous match that they played in the regular season, and that was just a great game coming in from Trace Esports. I also love how they're able to get a win on red side. Haven't seen much of that, but at the same time, it was a very calculated game coming in from Trace Esports. They took it step by step. They took it by the book. EDG surprised them with that bot lane fight, but they were able to recover and just punish EDG whenever EDG was even just slightly out of position.
Yeah, and their composition dictates that they have really the advantage towards the late game of that matchup, and EDG is more towards the early game. Renekton, Nautilus, Jace, right? These 3 champions are early game champions, and they were not able to capitalize onto that. They heavily relied onto the mid game fights. Into the early game, Trace Esports was able to net themselves a lot of kills at the beginning, so it was so much harder for them to be able to play on par up against Trace into 15 minutes into the game, where Trace really is dominating.
Yeah. It also doesn't help that Langui got caught out in that Elder Drake fight. I would love to see a replay as well. Maybe looking back at the VODs for what happened with Langui right there, because he was very deep into the composition of Trace Esports at that point. And just the wards as well, how information was being used by Trace Esports to catch out the members of EDG was beautiful when it came to that Elder Drake fight. And yeah, this is a very good sign for Trace Esports. They have been the team to really dominate in the regular season. These 2 teams are probably the closest when it comes to the records that we have right now in the league. EDG only slightly above Trace Esports in our regular season standings, because they've lost less games, or they've played less games due to the best of 3 nature of our regular season. So in the longer series, Trace Esports might have that bit of an advantage, but other than that, it's just really been a solid showing from all of the members of Trace Esports.
Yeah, it definitely is. And on top of that, when it comes to team fighting, you also have Severe. The On The Hunt is very annoying to deal with, but as always, the jungler of Trace Esports is one, if not the strongest, across the tournament. Hueba getting the MVP title, his 13th title into the league.
Yeah, his Shen was really good. He was able to have a really solid early game, and he was able to transition that later on, helping out his teammates. But yeah, that has been our game 1 of this best of 7 series. We'll just be going on a short break, but don't go away. We'll be still having game 2 after the short break.
Feel the thorns embrace. Death is in bloom. None will escape my grasp.
See, it's just a scarecrow. Aren't you afraid?
an incredibly convincing game number 1 that Trace Esports was able to show us. And right now the question is, can EDG make it into an even level playing field into the series as we're back into game 2?
Yeah, we're heading into game 2 between EDG and Trace Esports in the upper bracket playoffs right now, and it's actually EDG on the blue side while it's Trace Esports on the red side. EDG retaining the first priority for them in this series, and yeah, the previous series was just really Trace Esports able to play out their composition well, not really allowing EDG a lot of leg room to get a lead against them, and Trace Esports is just really I would say played it by the book, and that was great. That was a really good showing for them, a really good foundation starting off in this playoffs best of 7 series match. And right now EDG needs to be the one to try something different. It could be in the draft, it could be in the game itself, maybe try to be a bit more aggressive, or maybe not allow Trace Esports to play the game that they want in this second game.
Yeah, in the second game, we have an immediate bans onto a similar champions that we've had coming into game number 1 via Ezreal Camille removed. It is now EDG who removes Camille, which is interesting coming into this matchup, but likely Trace Esports having Kha'Zix, Akali, and Hacker and banned away, EDG is now forced to pick up a different mid laner this time.
Yeah. We'll see. I do like that they kind of took out the Akali, but instead this has opened up a big AP assassin as well in the hands of 0711. It's gonna be the Evelyn, which we almost always see ban and to see in conference teams whenever they go against each other. Now it's been open. Now it's been first pick here for the side of EDG.
Yeah. Right now, Trace Esports as well answer with a similar AP champion, not an assassin, but Zoe is an amazing pick coming into either the mid lane or into the bottom lane. These two champions, regardless, despite having an ADC already available, could still switch up in lane. We've seen Zoe come into the bottom lane time and time again, and it could still happen for the likes of Trace. Now EDG could opt to go for a similar Baron laner since Xjang was able to quite perform onto this champion. Not really the best out of EDG coming in from game number 1, but so far Xjang was able to hold Lee Sao coming in from the prior matchup.
We'll see if he'll still be able to. Well, he was able to hold, I can say, but that was because it was kind of like a weaker early game champion, right? It was a Fiora, but later on as the game went, it was Xjang just holding on for dear life in this turret, not really challenging the Fiora, which will be picked up again here by Lee Sao, manning that in the Baron lane. Also, it's kind of the similar thing here coming from EDG. It's still going to be the Jace being picked up. It's not going to be in the jungle in this time around. Might probably going in the mid lane, so not gonna have that issue of nerfs in the jungle. Still having the same amount or almost the same amount of strength as a solo laner here in game 2.
And this is what I like about how EDG this time into game number 2 has changed their draft. Jace not going to the jungle, because remember, Jace's jungle clearing has been nerfed to the ground in patch 4.4D, and yes, it's still usable to a degree, but not as efficient compared to the past. So good adjustments coming from EDG, having the Evelyn into the jungle instead, so Jace to be expected coming into the mid lane or the bottom lane. Now when it comes to the bans, Alistar, Severe, Gragas, and Lee Sin has been removed to Trace Esports, priority onto the Nautilus as a support.
We'll see if they'll lock this in. The thing is, there's still a lot of champions open on the side of EDG to prevent the Nautilus having such a huge effect. They do lock it in. Xayah can still be picked here by alone. You can just pop the ultimate of the Xayah to dodge away from the depth charge. Sivir's banned, so might just be a Xayah pick for them. Leona we haven't seen often being picked, one of the lower priority when it comes to engage supports, but it does get locked in here by Langui.
Yeah, it's not as a priority as before, but Leona is still a decent support to go through into a composition given how much crowd control he has innately. But the Tristana will be locked in by EDG, so the reason why they're able to do these double AD into the bottom lane and the mid lane is because they have Evelynn. They have an AP jungle, but Trace Esports answers with the Shyvana.
Yeah. Shyvana gonna be more of a scaling jungler in the hands of Huiba. Will be on Trace Esports to allow Huiba to get to these positions to be able to scale later in the game. I'm actually more curious about this Tristana and where this Tristana is gonna go, because EDG can still work this around. They can still put this in the bot side of the map in the mid lane in the hands of Yo. But with the adjustment coming in from Trace Esports as well, Yusa is gonna be the one who's gonna be manning the Zoe in the Dragon lane. As you mentioned, Infi, it is a switcheroo. It is something that it can still be done. We have seen Zoe in the past have more prevalence in the bot side rather in the mid lane. So we'll see how this matchup will pan out. Will Zoe be able to dodge away from the engage coming from the Leona? Because what's dangerous in the bot lane right now for the EDG is there's so much damage coming in from the Tristana when the target is locked down by the Leona. So it might be tricky here when the matchup does come through.
It will be interesting to how these two teams will be battling here into game 2. EDG once again a similar fashion onto that early onto Jace and even Leona being a strong early game champion, but now they have late game insurance wherein they have Tristana and they have Evelynn. For the likes of Trace Esports, pretty much their composition once again very well built draft to say so the least, but when it comes to this early game they have a disadvantage up against EDG.
They really do have a disadvantage, especially in the bot side, because Tristana and Leona can just do absurd amounts of damage early on. Yusa is actually the one playing in the middle lane right now. This is something that we were talking about early on before game 1 during the player intros, where these guys are gonna go, because both of them have played mid lane for Trace Esports. But since in the prevalence of the marksman meta, where sometimes 2 marksmen are played, right now it's Korn in the bot side, and previously in the game before, Yusa was the one who played Sivir to great effect for Trace Esports, which we saw earlier, because he wasn't really challenged that much by EDG due to the lineup that Trace Esports had in that game.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Trace Esports as well, Yusa onto the Sivir had pretty much free hitting all throughout each and every single team fight, which is definitely something that you want on a Sivir, because you have the On the Hunt and you have the boomerang blades that could bounce and ricochet onto these enemy teams. But thus far, this is to be expected by both EDG and Trace Esports. Their junglers are not gonna go aggressive coming into the early phases of this game in the laning phase, given how Shyvana and even Evelynn needs to reach at level 5, how Evelynn unlocks the invisibility, and how Shyvana unlocks the Dragon's Descent.
Yeah, they're both not effective in the early game. They don't really have any big gank tools. Yes, Evelynn has the charm, but it takes a while to really take effect. It's not as easy to just go in, drop CC, and gank a lane. So both of these champions do prefer level 5s to try and put down some pressure. But at the same time, both of these champions also thrive better when it comes to the late game points of the game. A bit of a scuffle here in the mid lane that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, the Zenith Blade, but instead that will be the counter engage coming through for the likes of Trace Esports. They have so much CC, but Tack comes back. Care 1 turret unscared.
Yeah, that's good for him. Doesn't go down. First blood hasn't been given up here by any of these teams. With 0711 used the flash, immediately goes for the ultimate on the Evelynn, trying to execute the Nautilus, but the Nautilus is just too tanky, even in the early parts of the game, not being bursted down easily by this assassin. But now the top side though, ooh. That could have been dangerous. That could have been a kill right there by Lee Subs. Xiao Zhang stuck a bit too long in the top side. And this is the thing that makes it tricky between a Fiora and a Renekton. Although Xiao Zhang pops ultimate.
Ignite as well. Dominance is there. A lot of sustainability. They cannot go for that. 1v1 as Lee Subs down low already with the wave pushing in. So opts to back away.
Yeah. Opts to back away, just pops the dominance, as you mentioned, to shove the wave, force it to shove back towards him, not allow this Fiora to have any moment to maybe freeze the lane. But that's also the tricky thing that we have been observing when it comes to the matchup in the top side. It's Fiora having a bit more reach due to her lunge, able to poke down the vital points of the Renekton. The Renekton can't really do anything because if he tries to dash in and auto and stun with the Ruthless Predator, it can be blocked by the Fiora. So what usually happens is they just have this kind of equilibrium in the top side. Oh no.
Filter Charm. The last caress will not be available for that burst damage, and Yusa will be able to still go back.
Yeah, that could have been a kill in the mid lane as well, but very defensive is the gameplay right now for both of these teams, not allowing anyone to just get a big advantage with nothing in return. This ward those spots out Hueba, so EDG does have a timer on this jungler, knowing where the Shyvana is at this point. It might not be that consequential because Hueba still has a very good timing on the recall as you get into this closer to the 5-minute mark with the Dragon and the Herald going up soon. Dragon is to be expected. The objective that Trace Esports would want to prioritize since they do have a Shyvana in their lineup.
Yeah. Just stacking on the stacks of Shyvana to be able to unlock those passives. And now Dragon and Rift Herald will come out in 20 seconds. How EDG really do this with their 7-11 finding themselves on top side of the map. Given how well they go into an early game comp, they could still go in for the Rift Herald as well to really accelerate that snowball potential.
Oh, actually, big kill right there in the mid lane. First blood going immediately to favor of EDG. Topside's also in danger because of the Tristana and the Leona having so much pressure on the kills, as well as the tower being brought to below half HP.
Yeah, and now Weibo will be able to secure the Dragon for themselves, the Ice Break, and EDG once again starting up the Rift Herald. Expectedly, they will be able to take that for themselves.
Yeah, actually, heading to this replay, just a very simple kill right there coming from 0-7-11, knowing that the Zoe doesn't have flash, using it earlier, goes back to another revisit to the mid lane and just takes her down. And that's one of the things that's scary about the Evelynn, right? As you mentioned, the invisibility that she gets when she hits level 5 makes it very hard to know where she is, makes it hard to prepare for a gank coming from this champion. With the Herald being brought down the mid lane, this is a good sign right now for EDG. They're fixing up some of the mistakes that they did back in game 1.
Yeah, now first turret taken down by EDG into the mid lane as well. So a huge gold injection for Jace in the mid lane. Gets a second charge as well. Shelly's really hard working game 2.
Yeah, she's working overtime in this game 2 Infinity. Also, EDG getting another turret in the bot side with the Tristana, but Trace Esports has not been caught lacking when it comes to the tower department. We also see Hueba on the side lanes taking things down. They have taken top side turret, so at least on that side they might not have evened out the turret count yet, but they have gotten one into their favor. And as you're mentioning earlier, early game is really gonna be in favor of EDG because of the champs that they have chosen. This Jace, this Renekton will be able to put down some of the pressure, but it really has come from the plays from 0-7-11. 0-7-11's ganks have been pivotal in allowing EDG the space to get a couple more turrets, a more gold into their favor, as well as the first blood earlier. And right now, looking at the gold, it's almost a 4k gold lead for EDG.
Almost a 4k gold lead. EDG is keeping up, and the lion's share of this advantage is more towards that half first blood. They were able to take a huge gold injection. It is in favor for EDG, and another turret coming into the bottom lane, so Trace Esports could definitely close the gap when they take a couple of turrets of their own. But EDG at this stage is on a good position compared to game 1.
Definitely a lot better position for them here in game 2 than in game 1. Blue side for them has been the side that's similar as well, and now you've got another turn to top side. All outer tier turrets are gone for Trace Esports. EDG will now have all of the avenues to get inside the jungle of Trace Esports, put down vision, set up traps, And looking at the composition of EDG as well, they do have those tools. They have a Leona, they have an Evelyn. If these two champions come together, they could have just a perfect CC chain to allow this Evelyn to deal so much damage. And now Trace Esports kind of caught in the back foot. They really need to figure things out how to stop the bleeding, because EDG is in a good position to just snowball this game into their favor.
Yeah, snowball this game out of proportion. EDG right now have all the tools to be able to pursue a bigger advantage. They could balloon their 4K gold lead into a much higher degree, especially coming into 9 minutes of this matchup. And Shyvana also building onto Divine Thunder, not the likes of Trinity Force, means that when it comes to the damage aspect, it will not be as much right now with the Divine Thunder for Heiwa.
Yeah. Right now, though, looking at how things are panning out, there's still a dragon that's about to come out, and Mountain Drake about to come out soon. And Trace Esports is trying to put a lot more vision right there. Yusa getting chunked by the Evelyn. I feel like the last embrace was used right there, so maybe no ultimate in the next fight. The bot lane, though.
Oh, wow! Zenith Blade followed from the Solar Flare, and then you just shot one shock blast. Oh my.
Yeah, it's showing right now that the damage that EDG has, the strength of their composition is showing here against Trace Esports. I don't think even Korn expected any of that, and now it's 4v5. They're trying to challenge this dragon.
Attack in danger, but Young Yusa as well came in with the CP Trouble Bubble connected onto X-Jank. So much CC goes onto you. In danger, Shock Blast to the face for Lee Sao. Already brought down so low. And CP Trouble Bubble onto X-Jank as well, but will be able to come through over the hills, over the walls, and does bar. That engage will be the win for EDG.
Yeah, EDG tried to see if they could get more kills, tried to get a bit more advantage against Trace Esports, but the immediate pullback from Trace Esports, making use of the terrain that gave them a bit of an advantage there in the blue buff, allowed a lot of their AoE abilities to hit on the members of EDG. But even though that fight did not exactly go heavily in favor of EDG, they were still able to get the dragon, stopping soul point for Trace Esports, also deterring this Shyvana to get a lot more of those, a lot more out of her passive because of that dragon.
Let's see, right now Trace Esports a massive disadvantage, already with a 5k gold disadvantage here in the deficit up against EDG. And the thing is, when it comes to the past history, as we have talked about and touched up a while ago during the pre-show, is that EDG was able to fight up against Trace Esports during the regular stage, and they beat Trace in a 2-0 in a best of 3 matchup. And this time, Trace Esports winning that first game. Yes, that's a big difference that Trace Esports is doing, but still EDG, they really want to repeat history here to bring down Trace Esports once again.
And that's where playoffs are different, right? Because in the regular season, it's best of 3s. You just need to win 2 games. You just need to prepare for at most 3 games. Just 2 strategies that would work against your opponent. Here in the best of 7 series, it's where teams really get tested. There's a lot more games. Attack getting caught out.
Attack being caught out. Lansby with a Zen Blade with a lot of crowd control. That will be the death of Nautilus from that fight, EDG. And this is what we have mentioned during the draft, that Leona may not be the most prioritized support in the game, but he or she has so much crowd control.
Yeah.
And right now, once again, Zenith Blade to the back. It's Horn that will be the target here. Exhausted, no escape for Fiora. EDG bought themselves a 2 numbers advantage.
Yeah, they're getting 2 kills. There's still some hope coming out from Yusa and Korn right here, but I don't think it's going to be enough. This Baron will most likely be secured here by EDG. Tracy's trying their best.
That will be EDG that will be securing the Baron for themselves, and Hueba falls as well.
Yeah, Hueba falls, trying to go for that hero play, going for a possible steal. 0-7-11 just playing around this top side. Even though you're invisible, the minions are still having the Baron buff, so they kind of know that they might be there in the area right now, Evelyn. So At this point in time, though, with the Baron in the hands of EDG, it gives them a lot of space, a big buff to be able to take down turrets. We're gonna see here the replay as Korn, Yusa, and Hueba try to go for the steal, but it wasn't enough. As soon as they came in there, an immediate smite from EDG's jungler.
EDG now getting that pressure onto bottom lane and top lane, or well, mid lane rather, as they get 2 tier 2 turrets for themselves. A lot of gold injection once again to Alone You and even the rest of the crew. Now top quadrant jungle, Hueba is getting pinned down. Will be able to go out with the Dragon's Descent, but is being chased out. X-Jang is on the run, is on the chase. There's 7-11 as well onto the right position, and Hueba will be brought to the wall, brought to the ground, and EDG secures the jungler.
Yeah, Hueba being a bit out of position for the rest of his team, trying to go for a shove in the top as well as farming out his jungle. And that's the thing with Shyvana. Shyvana needs to be able to get more items to be able to make use of her passive to really scale into the game. But with the spot that Trace Esports find themselves, Hueba is left wanting, is left needing of resources to be able to challenge the composition that EDG has. And EDG has so much more of an advantage, has a bigger bank right now. 10k, 11k gold lead right now for this team, and the snowball really is coming into effect here for EDG. They are in a prime position to take game 2 of the series.
Yeah, 20 seconds left as well before the Ocean Drake comes up, and EDG is already positioning themselves into a better lead, a better position advantage against Trace Esports with no tier 2 turrets. In addition to that is another layer of hardships for Trace.
Yeah, definitely a lot of hardships right now from Trace. They need to dig deep. They need to figure out how to force mistakes from EDG, or also to find those mistakes coming out from EDG and try to capitalize on those. Be ready whenever if EDG does give that opportunity. But still, the lead of EDG is too big at this point that just one mistake won't be enough for Trace Esports to get back into this game. It has to be multiple. It has to be multiple times that Trace Esports get picks, get kills, get gold, get objectives into their favor, and it's gonna be very tough right now. They're playing with a very small map. The amount of territory that they're getting, EDG is just letting them have that at this point. But each time that Trace Esports walks up, there's a war. There's something that spots them out, something that gives information for EDG to know where they are. As you mentioned earlier as well, Dragon has been taken by EDG. Trace Esports did not try to go for the contest, because if they do, they might have lost the game then and there. But Baron is now going to be up on the map. It's just spawned right here, and EDG is positioning themselves. Mid lane though.
There's 7-11. Last caress is the last time that Fiora sees the light of day, coming in from that 1v1, and EDG once again gains the numbers edge against Trace.
Yeah, great pick right there. Coming from the jungler, coming from 0, 7, 11. And now it's a numbers advantage, as you mentioned here for EDG. But look at where the Renekton is. Renekton is so deep into the base of Trace Esports.
So deep. Going in for the inhib turret as they take it down. Zenith Blade on attack as well. Hueba wants to go in to deny that, but will not be able to do so. EDG is just so fed, and Renekton comes through to go for the finishing blow, and Yusa, the only one left standing, left on his lonesome to defend, while EDG has everything in their power to take the Baron.
And as you mentioned, right, one thing we're going to talk about in the draft is how much crowd control Leona has. We just saw that in display. Hueba was not allowed to play the game. Hueba came in, never got a chance to auto, never had a chance to run away because Langi was right in front of him, just putting down the hard CC.
Now inhib turret will be the target. Langi once again. Zenith Blade onto Lee Sao. No escape. Yusa! No fountain can heal you faster than EDG's damage. And now Nexus will be the target as EDG brings the series to an even 1-1.
Yeah, EDG showing up here in game 2, taking down Trace Esports, evening things out 1-1. And what a recovery from EDG. If game 1 was a story of how Trace Esports played the game by the book, played the game to the strengths of their composition and towards the weakness of EDG, Game 2 was a whole different story. Game 2 was EDG forcing things on Trace Esports, capitalizing on small mistakes. It wasn't really even just EDG playing by the book. It's them writing their own script and forcing it upon Trace Esports.
Yeah, it was a lot of these back and forths, and EDG, compared to game number 1, was able to capitalize onto the winning conditions from game number 2 that was able to net them the win once again into the series. And right now, it's already 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1. Kind of, the thing is, right, when it comes to these like best of 7 series, whenever they get tied, it feels like you're going on a reset because the best of 7 gets shorter, becomes a best of 5, eventually becomes a best of 3. But at this point in time, with how different things are, in terms of how the teams have shown up, it puts into question what team will be coming out in the next game, in game 3. Will it be EDG just forcing things down against Trace Esports? Is Trace Esports demoralized, or can they pick themselves back up in game 3? These are the things you ask yourself because of how dominating game 2 was. It was like EDG just warmed up in game 1 and showed up on game 2. Will that be the case as well for Trace Esports coming into this the next game of the series? Who knows? It's something that we'll be seeing later on, but we do expect at least an adjustment coming from Trace Esports, especially when it comes to the composition that they had, because this shows that if they have a composition that's a lot weaker in the early game, it won't stand up to the aggression that EDG throws at them.
Yeah, it's just so good that they were able to do it. And the thing about Shyvana, that it takes a lot of time to be able to reach that point wherein it's really strong, and that is not something that Trace Esports was able to hit. And the thing about their composition, in addition to that, is that they don't have any early game champions aside from their supports, which can only do so much in a game.
Yeah. We'll see. But looking at the matchups as well, Langui just we talked about the Leona kind of question. We kind of put some questions on it because it's not one of the most priority pick when it comes to the supports. But definitely Langui showed up here, even getting the MVP on the Leona pick, showing us the strength of this more, I would say, niche pick right now in the meta.
From the early stages up until the very last second, Langui just did so much thing to be able to secure that MVP title. Well deserving of this player, but can EDG put this on a win streak roll coming into the following games that we've had to demolish Trace Esports, or can Trace change history? We're just gonna take a short break, but when we come back, it's game 3 of Wild Rift League Asia in this series.
Step light, strike hard. Crack 'em like a tomb. I go where the trouble is.
Yeah. Let's go. Sicker than the wizard with a top hat. So heavy when I drop it like a backpack. Chit chat, better stick it in a WhatsApp. Looking at the glitter in your Snapchat. What's that? You break like a plate in an earthquake on the first day, like a clown at birthday. Too late, gotta wait for the first.
牛啊，这个球！菜呢？
Welcome back to Game 3 of EDG versus Trace Esports. Once again, I'm Infinity and this Crazy Apple, but that was an amazing performance coming in for the likes of EDG from the prior game.
Yeah, definitely a big turnaround when it comes to the overall performance compared to Game 1. Game 1 felt like it was EDG just being a bit too passive against the composition that Trace Esports had. But Game 2, Trace Esports kind of doubled down on what they had in Game 1, going for more late game scaling composition, and EDG just punishing them left and right in that Game 2. Also letting the Evelyn through in Game 2 was a big mistake coming in from Trace Esports, because we just saw how 0711 was also able to pilot that champion to success. And now here in Game 3, the sides are switched here. Infinity, it's gonna be Trace Esports on the blue side, while EDG will be manning the red side.
Yeah, both of them will have a switch in sides. EDG was not, or well, rather Trace Esports lost that coming into the prior game and opted to go for the blue side selection. And right now, Kazakh's Akali will be banned or removed from the champion pool by Trace Esports. And for the likes of EDG, are removing Evelyn and Camille.
Yeah. Really good to take out these assassin champions, as well as those champs that can really burst down targets early on, because EDG has been using them really, really well. Corki is a bit of an odd ban right now coming out from Trace Esports. I didn't expect that to be banned anytime soon. But there's still some of the more usual champs that we do see being banned, like the Fiora still up, Gallia still up, Ornn is still up. Hecarim has not had any showing so far in the series, which is also one of those champions that have been let through the past couple of weeks and has shown a lot of priority when picked up by these junglers.
Well, you called it, because right now Hecarim is left open and Trace Esports opted to prioritize and hovers onto the Gragas, given how much really this champion provides for the team when it comes to utility with a body Sam to go for the engage and the explosive cast. Puts it at a high priority as one of the first few picks, but Trace Esports opts to change up their priority and locks in onto the Vladimir instead.
Yeah, Vladimir being picked up at here. You don't usually see that being picked up first, because there are champions that have shown to be really good to go against a Vladimir. Zoe's one of them, which we saw in the previous game and is open right now for the taking here by EDG. I'm really not sure about this Vladimir pick right now, but let's see what will Trace Esports build upon the first pick that they have. Hecarim, as we talk about, has been locked in here for the side of EDG. A really good jungler when it comes to facilitating fights. Very tanky as well. But when this champion falls behind, we find it really hard for him to have any effect.
Yeah, and right now Trace Esports, question is, where are they going to go when it comes to their pickups of champions? They could opt to go for Gragas, and they could also go for another jungle into their composition, into their lineup, which is to be expected here. Vi is really strong with those point and click CC, and also like gap closer, space closer for Trace Esports, so Weibo locked it in.
Yeah, Vault Breaker as well as the Assault and Battery. a really good combination right now to get on top of that Zeri. Zeri would need to stand a bit farther away from the fight if she does feel like the Vi would be any threat on her. Also, really good single target engage right now coming in from Trace Esports. And Renekton has just been a very perennial pick. Has always been there, and even in the series that we have seen so far in the CN conference, we always see the Crocodile being picked up for the Baron laners.
And this will be very interesting. We all know Aatrox is a very strong champion currently in the meta just because of how much sustain he has in lately, but having the Aatrox and the Hecarim, expectedly this will now be Aatrox going into X-Giant to battle up against Lee Sao. So an interesting take when it comes to the composition of EDG. Now when it comes to the bans, we have the Gallier move, Alistar also removes, so Gragas is to follow, and if Ornn will be left open by Trace and even the likes of the Leona, it could still be these options for both EDG and Trace.
Yeah, we'll see if the Leona does get banned. I feel like Leona only really worked because of what EDG had earlier on, because they also had the Tristana on them. Zyra, not the usual bans that we do see, but I do like it as well because it prevents a lot of the engage coming in from Trace Esports. The thing good about Trace Esports composition is that they tend to ball up, and if Zyra being taken out of the equation, it will allow them a bit more freedom and space to ball up and take these team fights against EDG.
This is so smart from EDG. And they could even go for Nautilus, because if they go for Nautilus, they have Nautilus, Aatrox, Hecarim with Sivir into their composition. This is just so good, because when it comes to mobility, when it comes to team fighting, they will be successful out from that, and it will be a balance when it comes to that level 5 onto the early game and middle game. Scaling of this composition is quite significant, so Trace Esports will have a difficult time, so they opted and answered to go for an Ezreal and an Ornn to go into the bottom lane.
Just Ezreal being a bit more of a safer kind of champion, he's able to maneuver this fights. And as you mentioned, Infinity, it seems it's going to be the Nautilus pick here for EDG. EDG is gearing up for very strong mid to late game team comp, having 2 marksmen in their composition as well as some beefy tank lines. The Nautilus and the Hecarim will provide so much space for the Sivir and the Zeri to play around, and the Aatrox will not be tied down on frontline duties. He can go for flanks, he can try and dive towards the back line of Trace Esports. He can even go and split push. This composition right now the EDG has brought to the table is going to be really strong when it comes to these team fights.
Yeah, and a lone stroll for the side of EDG. The Sivir's role into the side of EDG is not really to carry the whole game, but rather to supplement and complement their composition of having Aatrox, Hecarim, Nautilus, and even Zeri at this point that could have huge benefits on the extra movement speed on the hunt.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's why whenever we see a Hecarim pick and we see a Sivir getting picked alongside it, it gets us excited because it's this combination that you think about that just goes in hand in Wild Rift, and we're gonna see it here being manned by EDG. On the other side though, for Trace Esports, they kind of tried to remedy some of the mistakes that they had in the previous game where they let go too much of the early game pressure. Now they have a Renekton, they have a Vi. Vi and Renekton is going to be really strong on the 2v2s, especially if the Vi is able to hit her abilities. Ezreal, a lot stronger in the early game as compared to before because of the shorter cooldown on the Mystic Shot, allowing him to trade more effectively. Although it's going to be against a Sivir who can just shove him out of lane, but at least in these level 1 fights, if the Ezreal and the Ornn gets a bit of an advantage in the bot side, they do have kill pressure against the Sivir.
They definitely do. Sivir is one of the squishiest champion, if not one of the squishiest champion, all throughout the game, right? It's very susceptible to a lot of these damages early on, so that could be something that Trace Esports could bank on into these early game fights. And as you have mentioned, right, if Trace Esports could look into getting an opportunity, getting a loophole wherein they could optimize a situation and get the kill onto the Sivir, that will be something of an amazing feat for the likes of Trace. And that's the thing, right? EDG expectedly will play it safe into the bottom lane.
Yeah, they should play it safe until they're able to rotate around the Sivir to the mid lane, because that is going to be the main job right now this server. Apart from using her ultimate to enable her team to be faster, to have more morale, to have more AD, she also has the designation of wave clear. She's like the janitor when it comes to marksman. She's really good at cleaning up the mess that creeps just have around the map, and that's gonna be her job later on. So if EDG can just hang on and not let Trace Esports get any key ganks in this early game, they'll be set when it comes to the mid game. And because of that, we have to put a lot of attention on where Hueba is positioning himself. He is spotted on the wards. At least EDG knows that Hueba right now is clearing that scuttle crab in the bot side.
Yeah, that will give information for EDG. That's why they placed a ward onto the tri-brush into the bot side of the map.
5.
So Hueba will be seen. If the wave will be pushing in very slowly, this will not be where Hueba goes for engage. And that's pretty much it. Just goes in for the reset. Be time efficient when it comes to clear, especially considering on how EDG overall, team fight wise, has a massive advantage up against Trace.
Yeah, definitely. They have a lot more tools to be able to make full use of their composition. Hueba now rotating towards the top side of the map. Another strong side that they could have. If they hit Xiaozhang here, this could be it.
Wow, that ward just spotted Hueba. Immediate back away by Xjang. Very clever move there.
Yeah, kind of the sixth sense of the Baron laners, but also due to the information that they had. Awarded the tri-bush in the bot side, spotted out the Vi. They saw her recalling, so you kind of have a sense of the timing of when the jungler might head to the top side. Honestly, it was a bit too close, the timing that Xang had right there, but it was just enough for him to be able to spot out the Vi and get out of that situation scot-free.
And surprisingly, Hueba, or well rather, Hecarim for the side of EDG has not been doing visits into any lanes this far. It was only Hueba who paid a visit on top side of the map and even bot side of the map, which is very interesting to see. Onto the jungle of EDG. Just starts off the fight onto the shadows. The fear is onto Hueba. The CC chain is flawless, and that will be EDG who takes the jungler down along with his support. Double kill immediately, and EDG bought themselves a huge amount of advantage as Tsao will be the next target. The flash knock up will not connect. 0711 though overextending, might just be the death of him there as Ignite takes him down to 1 HP.
Yeah, he gets sick down to 1 HP, but does stay alive. This Hecarim is just too tanky at that point. But True Shot Barrage? No, I think it's gone by the time this hits, but it might. He gets
one! A shot from Yusa!
Yeah, one shot from Yusa, and great job right there from Trace Esports' marksman to have the presence of mind to hit the Hecarim as he was low. I do hope we see a replay of the fight earlier, because a lot of things that could break down as well from that fight. But the main point was, it was EDG punishing the invade coming in from Hueba. When Hueba was channeling the Vault Breaker, he wasn't able to let it go to hit the Hecarim, taking out a huge part of the damage from Vi, because Vi usually maxes out the Vault Breaker. That takes out a lot of her kit, especially in the early games. If you take that out, her burst is nullified essentially in these early fights. So good job right there from EDG, taking advantage of a small micro mistake coming in from Hueba.
Yeah, and that will be a trade back where Trace Esports wanted to go for that. In addition to getting that kill, it was Yusa who got the major share, if not the only share of gold coming in from that elimination. So really good stuff there coming from Trace Esports. EDG knows and gets information of their Rift Herald being taken down by Trace Esports in a similar fashion. Tack is there as well to face check. So it's a 1-for-1 objective trade.
One for an objective trade. EDG getting what they need, a scaling objective, which is gonna be the Dragon, while Herald is secured here by Trace Esports. I do want to see them putting a lot more of their members here in the mid lane, trying to pressure both the Sivir and the Nautilus. Maybe just rotating this, maybe rotating just the Vladimir just one time here, get a bit more damage in the tower, because just a couple more hits toward the tower along with the Herald would put it down.
Now the stun's onto Xjang as her back will not be there, but typical Baron laner. Right? They're not going for the all-in. Even if they do, no one's gonna die. That's pretty much the storyline of top.
Yeah, it's the classic wet noodle fight in the top side. Although it's not tanks v tanks anymore, it's no longer Gary in the top side versus Darius just hitting each other. Now we have the bruisers, which gets a bit more exciting sometimes.
Rift Herald spawned into the mid lane already. That could be the Tower's blood for the side of Crazy Esports. But the deny is there, so EDG still have that chance to get a huge chunk of gold from the Tower's blood. They just have to defend the mid lane.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Trace Esports transitioning that mid lane play towards the bot side of the map. It has been a recall for the Zeri, but Xiao Zhang trying to pressure.
Will be able to go for that pressure, but opted to clear down the wave and deny the possible takedown of turret for Trace Esports in the bottom lane. And thus far, EDG holding still. 0711 showed up. Still no information for Lee Sao. But priority will be onto the Rift Scuttle instead.
This game oddly feels like game 1, but with roles reverse, right? It's EDG now playing Trace Esports' game from game 1, but with just a bit more flair coming out from the members of EDG, because they do have the Aatrox, they do have the Sivir as well as the Nautilus, can do a lot of things for EDG. While Trace Esports feels like they're the ones who's playing EDG in game 1, but now topside.
Lee Sao in danger. 0711 pushed them back. Lee Sao wants to get an even trade, but with 4 members up top, not gonna happen. And EDG got themselves a 3rd kill of the game in Korn, putting down pressure into the bot side of the map here. 35 HP left for that turret. XGen will lose their tier 1 in the bottom lane, and Korn comes back out unscathed.
Yeah. Korn just playing a bit with XGen in the bot side of the map, but we're gonna see the replay here in the top side. It was a stock standard dive coming here from EDG, and immediate exhaust as well on Lee Sao, preventing a lot of damage coming down on Yo. And just 0711 in just a good position on the flank to push him away from the tower, giving another kill in favor for EDG. But we also saw earlier on the live feed that Trace Esports was able to get the third in the bot side. So in terms of objectives so far, Trace Esports has been on the advantage. That's why we do see them leading in the gold. But that is standing gold right now. EDG, if they take it down, they can take this gold back towards them. And with the composition that they have, the scaling that these champions like the Zeri, like the Sivir have, if they're able to take down these turrets, they will be able to make use of the gold very effectively for those champions.
Very effectively indeed. Right now will be Trace Esports, who have to wait quite a bit for their Ezreal and for their Vladimir to be able to scale, because if they put down pressure, EDG at this stage pretty much has that massive advantage, especially when it comes to those team fightings. If they capitalize onto their Sivers on their hunt utility from EDG, that will be something of a big detriment for trades.
For Ezreal's right, we in an ideal scenario, he gets online at about like the 10 to 11 minute mark. He completes his Muramana as well as his Triforce, giving him a huge damage spike compared to other champions in the game, because the combination of the Sheen proc as well as the Muramana just deals such a huge amount of burst damage, especially when he's poking the champions down. And this could very well be the time here for Trace Esports as they start out this Dragon.
Grand Line connect, but that is tank. A very tanky support for Trace Esports. Right now, the onset of Shadows connected onto Vi. There's no more jungler ref for Trace. Weibo got deleted. The follow through as Renekton falls down. It's a 5v3, and that is not something that Trace Esports can handle, but they still removed 0711.
Yeah, that was a very chunky true shot barrage right there, but 07 still in the area.
Youngby, branch line into the backside. I remember it is 0711 who is using the Hecarim. Aatrox is just on the front of it all. This will not be something that Trace Esports can handle. That will be EDG securing the Infernal Drake.
That was an overextension from Trace Esports. You already mentioned that they were only 3 members while EDG still had 5. They had no right to stick around in that dragon. They had no right to challenge EDG because they didn't have the members. As we go back into this replay, right, it was Yusa trying to make use of the poke from the Ezreal, but EDG having a lot more strength in their composition, these balled up kind of fights with both Yo and Alone untouched. They're free to hit the members of Trace Esports, which deleted a lot of their members. Yes, they took down the Aatrox with a true shot. Barrage. That was a very hype moment, but they were still at the numbers disadvantage. They did not have a right to challenge the Drake right there.
Yeah, and Trace Esports, if it was a couple of more time to be able to take the tier 1 turret on top side of the map, Tack and Yusa could follow suit right after to support for Nekton, but EDG now on a 1k gold lead in game 3.
Yeah. EDG having a gold lead with a composition that should be stronger when it comes to the 15-18 minute mark, when we get towards these like third Drakes as well as the Baron buff. And now at Dragon Soul Point, securing 2 Drakes of the game, also having a gold lead in a stronger late game scaling composition is a very dangerous position for Trace Esports. Yes, there is ways for Trace Esports to win fights. They still have the Vladimir, who also scales really well in terms of damage. If you are able to catch both the Zeri and the Sivir in a position where you throw all of the damage on the Vladimir, that is an immediate win fight for Trace Esports. But with how well these teams have been playing, on how high the skill caliber is for both of these teams, it's going to be hard for you to find those opportunities.
Definitely would be. At the moment, both these teams are just playing towards the top side of the map. Look how EDG is placing their champions onto more towards the top side of the map with you in 0711 hovering onto the same location. You also have the Sever and the Nautilus into the mid lane as well, so if ever it comes down to objective, they could easily come forth towards top side.
A great answer right now, actually. Top side, there was some aggression starting out from Face Esports. There's a lot of members here. Could be a big fight.
Oh god, knock up onto 0711. Got deleted immediately. EDG, no more jungler left. Now Langi wants to answer back. Hueba is in danger. Vault Breaker to be able to come back away. Trace Esports, huge value from that fight.
Yeah, huge value. Just going for a 50-50 fight right there, which they have definitely won. Getting the support, getting the jungler actually from EDG, taking away any of that Baron pressure. Now Trace Esports is the one who's positioning on this Baron. They're most likely going to use this more as a bait, as EDG is slowly trying to see if Trace Esports is there, but the ward will spot them. But they haven't started objective yet. In terms of the advantage, not a huge advantage for Trace Esports as of yet, because that was still only 1 kill for them. They didn't take down the tower, didn't take down the Baron. It's not going to be a big turning point, but at least that signs of life from Trace Esports, trying to claw themselves back from the deficit that EDG has put upon them.
Right now, everyone's going to have to play it a bit more safely. We have to remember that EDG already has 2 dragons. They have the Ice Drake, they have the Infernal Drake. And the thing about that is Ocean Drake is going to come out soon enough, in a couple of seconds into this matchup. So EDG has to prioritize the Ocean Drake to get the soul, and Trace Esports has to contest it.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big point of contention, right? The 3rd Drake to prevent the soul to EDG, to not allow EDG to scale even further into this game. It's also something that EDG might be able to use, because they have 2 marksmen. They will be able to burn the Baron so fast. If Trace Esports put too much attention towards the dragon, they might just be able to sneak a Baron. So there's a lot of things at play right here, a lot of decisions EDG can do, but now they're looking for a fight here in the dragon pit as the dragon spawns.
They are looking for it. Ocean Drake now being started already by EDG. Wait, but just on the horizon as well to go for the contest as easy as they could. Call to Force shot already used. EDG got the Ocean Drake, they get the soul, and Trace Esports is on the back foot already. Renekton wanted to access onto Alone, but will not be able to do so. Now the On the Hunt is active. So much mobility onto EDG's side, and Alone going into the front lines, but Hueba came back in. An elimination for the side of Trace Esports. A 2-for-3 trade, but EDG still gets the soul.
Yeah, fight was very, very close for both of these teams, but Trace Esports does get into a winning position. They're now starting the Baron. They have a jungler. EDG doesn't have one, so the smite is going to be in favor here of Trace Esports.
Now Xjang goes in. Skyer's Bloom gets information with half HP across the board for Trace. They cannot pursue for the Baron.
Yeah, they were too low. They went they left the Baron on its own, just putting it down to half HP. But let's look at the replay right here on this Dragon Soul fight. It was 0711 who was able to get the smite off at 797 HP. That was such a clutch smite from him. And as the fight went on, Trace Esports was the one who was able to put down more damage on EDG. Alone and Yo weren't able to free hit as much because they were on the other side of the wall, while Trace Esports was farther away. It looked like it was actually going to be an even fight, but now we're going back to live. Baron's being started.
Baron being started by Trace. EDG has information, but there is no ward. As soon as I said that, they placed it down. Weba with Wolf Breaker onto Langui. He has the ultimates ready, but Trace Esports has to go out, not commit onto the Baron, given how EDG putting pressure onto them.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of pressure going in!
Jumps in with a Propel Flash along with a Sanguine Pull. There's just so much damage, and Langui brought down to 1 HP. 0711 has also needs to go back into that fight. And right now, it will be a 1-for-1 trade.
That's a 1-for-1 trade, but we saw right there the difference in the compositions between Trace Esports and EDG. We kept lauding the late game prowess of the composition that EDG has because they have two marksmen. Sivir and Zeri will output lots of damage in an ideal scenario. But if Trace Esports is the one to go in for these fights, they're the ones to initiate, they have a lot of advantage on their hands.
Xjang going for the overextension. This is not that good. They have to force out the World Ender along with a flash as well. But 0711 comes into fray. The wall be Vladimir deleted. Intact. And Yusa has to retreat. They have to go back as EDG just jumps in with a third dive. And Korn will follow suit. Renekton will go down. EDG gets themselves 2 kills.
The EDG turning things around, taking the kills away from Trace Esports. A crucial mistiming right there from Yusa, almost hitting the Mystic Shot on the Aatrox. But Langui, a bit of a no man's land here.
He's left on his own some, but right now 0711 comes in and joins the party as Xjang CC's down Weba. No escape. Elder Dragon will be open.
Elder Dragon be taken here by EDG. Trace Esports can't get even close to it. Xiaozhang and Langui just bodyguarding themselves, putting themselves in front of the members of Trace Esports. They can't even get close. Elder Drake is the one that has been secured right there by EDG, and Baron now is on the table for them.
Baron is open for them. And Trace Esports, if they leave this open, this will be EDG who will have the Elder Drake along with the Baron buff. The combo of massive buffs for EDG side, that will be a huge detriment for Trace Esports, and given how Weba still needs a couple of seconds to come back in, EDG gets 2 out of 2 objectives.
And they have everything. They have all of the Drakes, they have the Soul, they have Elder Dragon as well as the Baron. This is a very strong EDG lineup that Trace Esports will be fighting against, and we have seen signs of life from Trace Esports. The damage coming out from both Korn and Yusa are massive when hitting on the carries of EDG. But right now, oh no, going in.
Weba denied of that cease and desist, but still it will be EDG who loses alone. It will be a 1-for-1 trade with Vladimir removed, but EDG still holding strong. They have so much to stay in their draft composition. Now Xjang's on the chase onto Yusa with Langui following up as well. The Elder Drake buffs goes for the execute, and EDG gets the ace as they look to end the game. Nexus will be open for them, and EDG will get the 3rd game in the series.
EDG takes the lead in this best of 7 series, 2-1 against Trace Esports, and that last fight was a quadra kill as well for the Zeri, and such a great game played by both of these teams. EDG able to get a bit of an early game advantage, held on to it, and was able to just capitalize on one small mistake coming in from Trace Esports. Trace Esports in that last fight as well, when they lost it all, when they lost the Elder, when they lost the Baron, It was just one mystic shot that really turned things around. If that mystic shot hit, it would have been a tower dive. It wouldn't have been any momentum that would have shifted heavily towards towards the other side, towards EDG. And yeah, that game was just that close. It felt like it was decided by that just one mystic shot.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate for the side of Trace Esports as well. We've called it how the draft composition worked out so good for the side of EDG. It was just pretty much all the Infinity Stones. I know this is an analogy that pretty much is consistent every single time that we're talking about like very strong compositions or very strong events and scenarios, but it was pretty much it for EDG's side, how they were able to secure the Aatrox, the Hecarim, the Nautilus, and then you have the Zeri as the damage insurance, and you also have Sivir on top of that. When it comes to teamfight composition, when it comes to complementary of the champions on the side of EDG, it was spot on.
Yeah, definitely it was spot on. EDG really crafted a really great composition for themselves, and it's also the ease of use, right? Their composition is it's very easy because it has clear objectives on each player using it. They just need to for the backline, they just need to deal damage, while for the front line, they just need to create space for the backline. And that is such a big factor, especially in these types of scenarios when then you have just a lot easier to use composition. It frees you up to do a lot more. It frees you up to punish mistakes, to focus more on macro, and to focus more on your own micro. On the other hand, for Trace Esports, they kind of have that as well, but there's some things that are a bit more complicated, right? Or needs to hit his Call of the Forge God. Vi needs to figure out a way to get in cleanly against the composition EDG has. And Hueba, to his credit, had some fancy ins, had some fancy ways of trying to get his team, Trace Esports, back into the game. But at some points in time, it was just EDG having so much more strength that even though Trace Esports got the jump on EDG, it was all for naught because EDG was just too strong at that point.
And that's the thing. Trace Esports' draft is more towards ganking, more towards pickoffs. And that is not something that they were able to achieve. An MVP title, no other that is more deserving than 0711 coming from game number 3 in this series. It's so good how he performed into that matchup.
Yeah, definitely. He was able to pilot the Hecarim really well. Didn't really need to do much in the early game. Just scaled up, got his items, and able to turn things around. Able to carry his team with me. Actually, also have an SVP graphic right now for Yusa, having 35% damage from his team. And yeah, he was also a very pivotal member from Trace Esports, trying to hold on to that game. But that has been game 3 of this best of 7 series. We still have game 4, but before we head into our 4th game of the day, we'll just be going on a short break. We'll be right back.
Sun and rain, sleet, snow, any weather. Just know if you can do it, I can probably do it better.
Feel the thorns embrace. Death is in bloom. None will escape my grasp.
See, it's just a scarecrow. Aren't you afraid?
Step light, strike hard. Crack 'em like a tomb. I go where the trouble is.
Let's go. Sicker than the wizard with a top hat. So heavy when I drop it like a backpack. Chit chat, best stick it in the WhatsApp. Looking at the glitter in your Snapchat. What's that? You break like a plate in an earthquake on the first day, like a clown at birthday. Too late, gotta wait for the first.
牛啊，这个球！菜呢？
Feel the thorns embrace. Death is in bloom.
We're back, where EDG is now on the lead, 2-1 right now in the series, and it is EDG who is currently favoring in this series right now, as we are moments away coming into game number 3 here, as we are jumping into the draft once again.
Yeah, draft coming in here for game 4 between EDG and Trace Esports. Trace Esports did choose to go over to the blue side. You have seen a lot of priority in the blue side because you get a lot of priority picks, or especially one priority pick on your side immediately in these drafts. The previous game, it was EDG playing, I would say, Trace Esports' game in the past couple of games that they have in this series, where they played a bit of a slower game and EDG was the one who came out on top. We'll see what's going to be the adaptation here for Trace Esports. Will they go back to a more late game focus, slower style pace of the game rather than what they did in the game 3, where they tried to be a more early game focus game?
We'll see. Right now, Vladimir has been locked in by Trace and EDG, opting to go for Hecarim once again, along with the Zeri. This could be a repeat coming to game number 2, but Trace Esports has the option to deny the likes of Nautilus, has the option to deny the Sivir, but not exactly going to be complementary onto their composition. Shen will be hovered by Trace.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is what EDG's mindset is right now. It worked really well in Game 3, where they had both the Hecarim and the Zeri. If they're able to follow up it with the Sivir, that would bode well for them. But the answer so far from Trace Esports, it's again another Vladimir priority for them, going to the hands of Korn. And with the Shen and Jax locked in as well, it's going to be for comfort for Hueba on this Shen. We have seen him play this in Game 1, having really clutch Stand United as well as really good taunts for him. So we'll see if he's able to pilot that champion to effect in this Game 4.
Yeah, and when it comes to the banning phase, EDG really has to ban away the Galio. At this point, this will be an option where in Trace Esports, remember how Jax has been played out along with a Shen prior to this year. It's really amazing, and that is something that EDG has to respect. So they have to pivot themselves into banning the likes of Galio into the second phase picks there, especially considering that EDG could always opt to go for their Nautilus or even Leona, but instead banning away the Ezreal, which is still an understandable ban because of how Yusa has played that, being the SVP of game number 3, but that will leave the Galio open for Trace.
Yeah, it would leave the Galio open, but it's also something that EDG could look into. Picking into their fourth pick of the game. Sivir is taken out, so there's less options right now for EDG. If they pick up the Galio, it can also synergize well with the Hecarim. When the Hecarim goes in a bit too deep, Galio can just follow up with his own ultimate. But it seems like they're gonna go for a different look here. Infinity, they might be threatening the Leona Tristana bot lane again.
Yeah, they definitely could. They used it coming into game number 2 that won them their very first game into the series. They could do it once again, but Trace Esports is very clever as well. You could go for the Tristana. We have another champion in mind. Varus will be locked in. This will be a poke champion we're in. It will be safe for Yusa to play and hover around into the bottom lane and still deal damage and a lot of utility coming into the team fights.
Yeah, he can also choose to play between two builds, right? Can be poke, can be attack speed. There's also an option for AP, but I don't think we're gonna see that here because they already have the Vladimir. But they do also lock in the Nautilus, so a lot of catch potential, especially single target potential right now for the side of Trace Esports.
Yeah, I don't think AP Nautilus is gonna go out because they already have Shen. And typically that only comes out when it's a Nautilus jungle that we're talking about, or if you're like landsliding out of proportion. But right now, it's more of the standard picks, standard roles, and standard composition that we have for both these sides. But thus far, Trace Esports have a mirror composition that they were able to do into the prior game, only with an exception in the bottom lane, wherein they picked up the Tristana and the Ornn instead.
Yeah, Ornn, Tristana, not the same as the previous where you saw it with the Leona, so not as big of a, I would say, a catch potential, strong burst potential. It's going to be played more as a substitute to the Sivir, wherein we saw the Sivir earlier dealing massive amounts of damage when it comes to these balled team fights, bouncing the Ricochet around, bouncing her blades around. But now it's going to be the Tristana, more stock standard AD carry, going to play far in the back, dealing damage as well with her explosive shots. But we're gonna see if EDG is able to pull off this composition. Another double marksman for them, while on the other side, it's more of the traditional team compositions we see in League of Legends, having a mage in the mid lane as well as a marksman in the bot side.
Yeah, 100%. And right now, EDG is poised to come through. And they bring the Tristana as well, coming into the mid lane. So an unorthodox switch of lanes between Tristana and Zeri, now going into the bottom lane for EDG.
Yeah, honestly, between Zeri and Tristana, I prefer Tristana in the mid lane, specifically because Tristana has this innate wave push potential, not being as dangerous when it comes to the mid lane compared to the bot side. But previously, in the previous game, we saw Hecarim earning a lot of gold for the side of EDG when it was used by 0711, having a really great effect on the champion. Going back, so to be the Zeri and the Ornn here in the bot side on the map, going against the Varus and the Nautilus of Trace Esports. You don't see a lot of Varus lately. It hasn't been in the meta as much, but this is going to be the first time we have seen it in a while, and we do hope this is the adjustment that Trace Esports is looking for to even out the series.
Yeah, and along with what you have mentioned about Zeri coming into the bottom lane and also Tristana being a more favorable champion in the mid lane as well, I want to add to that. Because the thing is, Varus is a long-range champion. Varus has so much poke potential, has so much distance into dealing damage. And I think Zeri is a better option for EDG to be able to farm, right? To be able to put distance up against Yusa, has a lot more mobility compared to Alone. So when it comes to those all-in engages, given how Nautilus as well is an early game champion, there's a much more safer option for EDG.
Yeah, also there is very, like, I would say situational synergy right now with Ornn and Zeri, because Ornn creates terrain with his first ability, and when he's able to cast that and the pillar comes up, Zeri can use that to extend the range of her zap as he getting caught out here.
Ooh. Being locked in, the flash along with a drench line. You! The honey fruit, the MVP coming into that bot lane engage denies that kill from Trey.
Yeah, that would have been the first blood being given over for Trace Esports. As you mentioned, the honey fruit coming in clutch, healing up the Zeri, not allowing you to die, but also a great catch right there from the dual lane of Trace Esports, the bot side, catching out Yo in a, I would say, a bit of a slight overextension, considering that she didn't have her support with her.
He is so, but a switch as well right now with Tack going into the mid lane instead. Because this is the thing, right? Varus on himself is not exactly a champion wherein you really need to be just babysit. Because he has so much distance, he has so much damage, he has so much pokes. And that allows Tack to freely roam elsewhere, and that is the good and amazing part about having a Varus along with the utility of the Chain of Corruptions. But you have to respect this, because if an all-in goes through, this will be dangerous. Korn, the Stand United, this is a 3v1, but X-Chang with a World Ender along with a Flash Weiba is in danger as well. And the turnaround from EDG on top side of the map, X-Chang just came back in. It seems like nothing happened.
Yeah. Like nothing happened, right? He actually got a lot of advantages in terms of the health lead as well. Alone, actually trying to chase down all of the retreating members of Trace Esports from the top side. But just a couple of things but X-Chang did. I'm not sure if he had full information that Korn was topside, but they probably had a call that the Vladimir was missing. So he's probably going to go topside in that point, since the wave was about to crash into the turret of the Aatrox. So he kind of knew. Immediately pick up the honey fruit, and when the Shen was coming with the Stand United, was able to just flash immediately, and that was such a great setup coming from X-Chang in the top side.
Yeah, and a bit of a danger, but Nagi won't be able to go through. That will be a single plate for the side of EDG, but they will be able to secure. Right now we have a switch in lanes for the side of Trace Esports, having Vladimir come into the bottom lane and Varus comes into the mid lane. They have to go for that, as that will give an advantage and more of a breeding room for Varus to be able to get more minions, get more gold, get more CS.
Yeah. Right now, there's not really a lot of big things happening. No first blood yet, no first turret. We're about to hit the 5-minute mark, which we're gonna expect both the Herald and Dragon to spawn. And these two objectives sometimes evolve into big fights from these teams. You also see handshakes. And right now with what we see, Trace Esports might have a bigger priority in going for the Herald. They do have poke coming out from this Varus, so they could get control over this mid lane, take it down early, and we do see EDG immediately starting off this Dragon.
Yeah, EDG with the Infernal Drake being started already. You also have Weiba coming into the bot side river here. Bot quadrant jungle is something that Trace Esports has 4 members on. That could be something that Trace Esports could do. Onto the Shadow already used. His stack is feared out. The Call to Forge God will not come through as the Chain of Corruption denies it, but EDG secures the Infernal Drake, and now it will be the time wherein EDG will fight up against East-Sal. Very low already, has forced out the ultimate, will give him so much defensive capability, but you over the wall will get that shot through. Will secure that kill, and you uses up the flash. A little bit over excessive there, as you will be ignited to the ground. Weiba in danger, forces out the flash, and that will be enough to secure it with Tristana's ultimate connecting. And Alone uses up the flash to secure one more.
A triple kill for Alone on that Tristana. And what a great series of events right here from EDG. They've opened up the game for them, having a huge early game advantage right now, taking the Dragon as well as starting off this Herald. Doesn't seem like they'll be able to take it anytime soon, but the lead as well is very much in favor right now for EDG.
7-11 has sights onto attack, gains information onto that. Queba already up and running. Jungler availability for Trace Esports means that EDG has a lot more risk to go into the Rift Herald compared to before.
Yeah, with the Tristana backing off though, Trace Esports now starting up this Herald. EDG doesn't have the numbers advantage right now. It's a 3v4, but they are opting to start this fight.
Langry knocks up onto attack as well. Rift Herald already down low. Trace Esports will secure it with a single smite. That will be a 1-for-1 objective trade overall in the early game.
Yeah, 1-for-1 objective trade. Herald did go in favor of Trace Esports, but a lot of the kills, a lot of the momentum right now in the hands of EDG. This Tristana is fed, having 3 kills, and we all know how strong a Tristana can get when she gets her items. So going back to this replay right here, this is a great Dragon take from EDG. Immediately taking down the Dragon with the jungler from Thunder for TE was away, and TE, for some reason here, I felt like they were uncoordinated in this fight. They didn't really think that they wanted to fully commit towards this fight. They had to go in one by one, and because of that indecision, because of them being late, it allowed EDG to have more time to put down the damage, and by the end of this Alone, just using a flash to take down one more kill for himself.
Yeah. He's the cleanup crew, but all alone, and right now Korn comes through on top side of the map with a stand united for Hueva, but just brought him down into a dangerous position, and EDG got themselves a free 2 kills.
And that just ballooned the lead to 6.5k for EDG. And you gotta feel bad for Hueva, trying to save his team at the top side, but instead of saving him, finishing up the duration of the stand united and gifting another kill over for EDG, getting another turret for them in the top side. This is going from bad to worse right now for Trace Esports.
Yeah, kill served on a silver platter to EDG's side. If you're looking at items already, you have 2 locked in items for Alone. And that's going to hurt Trace Esports' chances.
Definitely, it's so much in favor right now for Alone. He's really popping off, and Lisa even needs to burn the flash with a 1v1 attempt right there by Xdrang on the bot side. And Trace Esports right now are left to figure out how are we gonna try to claw ourselves way back into this game, because 7,000 gold lead is a lot at this point in time. It's still we're just finishing up the early game. We're in the mid game right now, and EDG is so strong.
Knocks upon the Korn, and now onto the Shadow over the wall. 2 people got feared. Yusa is in danger. There's just no escape. EDG once again erases Trace.
Trace is gone. 2 members down. Mid lane is for the taking here for EDG. They take the first turret, and now they have eyes on the Jax. Lisa is all alone.
In danger. Xdrang will be able to root him down to the ground. Denies the TP back to the base, or well, the recall. And now Xdrang just on the chase. Lisa just has to raise the white flag. Clear down the wave quite a bit, but EDG secures them another.
Yeah, it's 9,000 gold lead for EDG. This is becoming untenable for Trace Esports. The onslaught that is EDG is in full effect right now.
Korn, bit of a pickle, will be able to come back out unscathed with the Sanguine Pull, and pretty much with a 9k gold lead. This is 1,000 gold advantage per minute, and Langry wants to go for more with a good engage, but Tack with a depth charge onto you denies the possibility for EDG, but Xdrang 0711 comes to the rescue as Korn has to force out the Sanguine Pull once again. 0711 is much faster than that. Hueva is in danger. It's a 2v1, forcing out a flash, and now with a blast cone as well, comes on to the tier 2 turret in the mid lane, but EDG time and time again gets so much bodies raining down on the Rift.
Yeah, 2 things I wanted to talk about. You saw the gold earlier. Everyone on EDG was above Trace Esports. Even the support, and Lisa just about to fall down right. It just seems like it's gonna be a regular thing that we're gonna be seeing at the rest of this game. All the members of Trace Esports about to fall down, and EDG is just so far ahead in this point. Infinity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
EDG's just keeping up with a 1,000 gold advantage per minute. They're already 11 or what, 10,000, 11,000 gold lead up against Trace Esports.
It feels like it feels like the pacing of the game right now is an ARAM game here for the side of EDG, and they're having so much fun right now. Just 0-7-11 diving and not even minding the Stand United. And this was the fight that we were commentating earlier on. There were two fights happening across the map, and EDG winning every part of it. There's so much ahead. Even the support from EDG, even Langui is ahead in gold against every carry from Trace Esports, and this is the Godslayers, the EDG team that we saw in the regular season who took down Thundertalk, who took down Trace Esports, stopping their win streaks. EDG right now looking so strong in this fourth game of the series.
Yeah, and I believe it was KBG's coach, or former coach, that came through EDG in the middle of the regular season and then just changed EDG. They went on a win streak right after that. It is so clever, and right now EDG is just a titan that cannot be defeated that easily, and right now with a Baron buff on their favor as well. Once again, another layer of difficulty for Trace.
Yeah, Trace is, at this point in time, honestly, Trace should be thinking about what they're going to do in the next game. It's so hard to get back into this game. It's going to take a massive amount of mistakes coming from EDG, which, even if they make a mistake right now, just how strong they are, they can make up for it so quickly just because of how strong they are. So Trace Esports needs to dig deep, needs to figure out what they're gonna do in the next game, because after this match, if EDG does close this out, they will be at match point.
It will definitely be right now. Baron empowered minions coming through into each and every single range. 0-7-11 just jumps onto the base. He's so on phase, going into the backside. He goes down though, and that is an unfortunate thing for the side of EDG. But inhibitor turret's already down, coming into the mid lane, and they just dive onto the turret. In top side of the map, they get the even trade. A 1-for-1.
Yeah, 1-for-1. But that was 0-7-11 throwing himself into the thick of it. He was so far back into the nexus of Trace Esports, but that has allowed as well EDG to get a turret to the mid lane, opening up the mid lane to have super minions in it. Bot side as well, and I think they were able to destroy. Yeah, they weren't able to destroy the turret there, but EDG still very much in a strong position, even though Trace Esports was able to defend their base.
3 items already for Alone. Who can stop this guy? It's insane, unfathomable on how much fed he is currently coming into this matchup. Bloodthirster, Navori Quick Blades, along with another item as well, already stacked up, and there's just no stopping Alone in the Rift.
Yeah, Alone is such a good spot right now on the Tristana. It's something that we saw earlier in the series, played alongside the Leona, but now it's showing up that they don't need the Leona. It's just really the Tristana being picked up, one of the comfort picks right now for Alone. And for Trace Esports, they have to think about what they're gonna do the next game. They have to think about some of the mistakes that they've done in this game. How are they gonna stop EDG from just controlling the early game? Because this is something we've talked about as well in the pre-game, right? And how aggressive EDG is. And the only time that we saw EDG lose was game 1, when they weren't as aggressive. And when they went back to their aggressive roots from games 2 and games 3, it just really shows how better this team looks when they go for these aggressive fights. And now EDG, it's becoming a bit passive, because there's so much that you need to take down first before you end the game. You still need to take down the turret, you still need to take down the nexus, and there's still this amount of respect you need to give Trace Esports, because Trace Esports, if you're allowed them to have these openings, it could still turn around. It's gonna be hard. There's still gonna be a lot of things that Trace Esports needs to do, but that is something that EDG is currently respecting from the other team.
Attack now being denied of the recall, while the rest of the crew for the side of EDG is taking the soul down for themselves. Hueva is looking on top side of the map, but that's the thing, he should have gone into the bottom side to deny the soul. EDG already positioned themselves to have the soul onto them, which makes it so much harder for Trace Esports.
But when you're this far behind, right, it's so hard to find these openings, and EDG right now is just baiting them in.
Jumps in, 7-11 with the onset of shadows as well, coming into the backside. There's no stopping. 7-11 on the Hecarim, going for the chase onto Karn as well. So much damage along with Infernal Soul. There's just so much things that Weibo has to conquer first. 7-11 just jumps through. Unfazed, unscathed, that will be the Nexus that will be open. And EDG coming right through in a face-to-face with the Nexus. As Inhibitor will fall down, it's an extra bit of cherry on top with the Nexus being the target, being the lockdown. And EDG secures their third game to go into match point.
It feels like each game that EDG wins becomes more and more one-sided. Game 2 was close. Game 3 was a bit close. It was a bit closer than this, but this was just a blowout game for them. EDG showing us why they have gained the titles of God Slayers. They have gained the title of King Slayers in this tournament, taking out the first and second spot from both Thundertalk and Trace Esports. And now in this series, they're showing us why they were the ones who took Trace Esports 2-0 in their previous matchup. And honestly, it was just really EDG looking so good in that game.
Yeah, they denied the possibility for Trace Esports to get the 2-2 or even level series coming into that game number 4. It was fantastic to watch. It was impressive to say the least on how EDG performed coming into that matchup, because Alone got the triple kill coming into the game that just led him into so much more items coming through into the mid game. 7-11 as well, very strong and just jumps into the backside consistently. And that is something that really has to be noted about EDG's strength in League of Legends Wild Rift.
I also want to say the total damage dealt to champions is so indicative of how EDG played that game, and that was just them fighting and being in front of every member of Trace Esports all the time. Because you can see how even the damage output is, even the Ornn, even the support who we don't usually see having high damage numbers have contributed significantly as well. And it's just, this was just a blowout, and this is just a very dominant game from EDG. This is probably the toughest loss the Trace Esports has had so far at least in this series, and they really need to dig deep. They really need to figure out how they're gonna stabilize, get back into a stable mental coming into this game 5, because EDG just has so much momentum on their backs. And they might just close out the series in the next game.
And hear me out. Trace Esports, they have to go red side selection. Like, the thing is, blue side selection, yes, it gives you the priority onto the first pick, and it gives you a lot more flexibility when it comes to the bans, but at this point in time, the red side selection is much more favorable coming into these teams. And once again, 7-11 just wreaked havoc in the Rift, getting a 9-1-4 KDA. That's his 10th MVP title in the matchup.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see if the mix-up in the sides would help Trace Esports if they go red side. This might just be a very different dynamic right now between the teams. We've seen blue side being the favored, but right now red side has just been dominating so far. But before we figure out who's going to be on which side, we'll just be going on the short break before we head into game 5. We'll be right back.
Feel the thorns embrace. Death is in bloom. None will escape my grasp.
See, it's just a scarecrow. Aren't you afraid?
Match point in favor of EDG with one game away and taking the series out. Move on into the upper bracket finals. And Crazy Apple, it's going to be a heck of a matchup that we have on our hand.
Yeah, Game 5, we'll see what Trace Esports has in store for us because they are now the team on the spotlight. They need to dig deep. They need to figure things out on how to fight off EDG. EDG on the cusp of moving forward in our upper bracket to have one more series before moving on into our finals, which whoever will be winning this series will be facing off against Keep Best Gaming. But going back into this series, we'll see what's going to be the adjustment for Trace Esports. Hopefully they pick. We were talking about hopefully they go red side at least in this game, because we have been seeing red side having more success. It's not only because it's not only because you are on the other side of the map, but in terms of the draft, in terms of the picks and bans, you get to pick 2 priority picks on your side if you leave a couple open. So we'll see if who or where will these teams be.
We'll see. Right now, EDG will still go on to the red side selection. Trace Esports opted to go into the blue side still. So, once again, 3 games in a row. We'll see if Trace Esports can make it back with Kha'Zix, Evelyn, and Akali already removed into the banning phase.
Yeah, Kha'Zix, Akali, Assassins being taken out left and right now, as well as the Evelyn. Fiora still open. Hecarim might just be another priority pick for the side of EDG if it's gonna be the same picks and bans. The Vladimir first pick hasn't been really working out for Trace Esports. I don't think it's a priority pick for them. It should be a very comfortable jungler for the side of Hueba. Maybe put Hueba on more ganking junglers. Maybe put him in something that could carry more. His Shen hasn't worked out. His Shyvana hasn't worked out. And so far, a lot of the focus right now is really gonna be on the side of Trace Esports. And with the Vladimir being banned, they have shifted their pick towards a Camille, a strong pick as well.
Yeah, and Camille is a very traditional first priority pick that we've seen over the past season, even in the past year. And that is something that we could expect here for Trace Esports, is a flexibility. But EDG locks in onto Hecarim and locks in onto Zeri, and expectedly, if they want to repeat the same thing that they did in the past 2 games, Aatrox is still open.
Aatrox is still open, something that Exang has shown they're very good at there in the Baron lane. I do like the Nautilus and the Ezreal being picked up here by the side of Trace Esports, having a very strong, solid support tank for them. And this is the first time we will be seeing the Gwen being picked out here. Looks like they might be thinking of putting it on the on the top side, but we have seen some Gwens going into the hands of the mid laners as well.
Yeah, first time in the series thus far, no one has used the Gwen into EDG and Trace Esports here into the upper bracket in the playoffs. But right now, going into the second phase, Dance, Siaso, Renekton, and Alistar already removed. It could be a possible support ban once again, as Gragas is still left open for EDG to pick up if it's not banned away.
Yeah, could ban the Gragas, could also let the Galio through. I'm thinking that Galio would also work well here with EDG's lineup. Can also go towards the Gragas for them. A bit of that disengage whenever the Camille does go in. If you get her out of her Hextech ultimatum, it nullifies that ability. So Gragas would also work very well if EDG does go that route.
Right now, EDG, when it comes to the support, it's pretty much a Gragas situation for them. A Gragas, a Galio, these are some of the options for them. Even Leona could be that for Langui if they opt to go for an aggressive early game support. But Trace Esports going for the double utility. They're going for a double support here. Hovers onto Arn, but locks it in. Trace Esports, we asked them to change something up, and they're indeed changing things here today.
Okay, this is a huge change, as you mentioned, right, for Trace Esports. I thought this Yone was gonna go into the jungle to the hands of Hueba, but with what they pick right now, this Yone is most probably gonna go into the hands of Korn in the mid lane, maybe even Lisa if they want to switch things up, and Hueba is gonna have his hands on the Nautilus jungle, which we have seen to have a propensity to build AP. We also have seen Nautilus jungles go for early jungle invades against Hekarims because of how fast they are able to clear the jungle. They can match up with the Hecarim, even outpace them at times and go into these invades. So Hueba now showing us maybe a card he didn't want to show until later in this tournament, maybe later in this series, and now he's showing us here in this crucial 5th game. If EDG is able to win this, they'll be moving on to the next part of our upper bracket, but they need to face against this curveball that Trace Esports is showing. Will Hueba be able to turn things around with his different pick in the series?
And I think that's one of the problems as well, right? Because we have named Hueba the strongest, if not the strongest jungler coming into Wild Rift League Asia Season 2. And the thing about this, over the past few games as well, he's more of a utility, not a carry jungler that we've seen going into the likes of Vi, going into the likes of Shen, which puts Trace Esports in a huge deficit into maximizing Hueba's potential. And even right now, he went in with the Nautilus. And Nautilus jungler definitely really does give you a lot of utility for the team. But once again, Nautilus will never carry the game, will never carry late, and that is something that Trace Esports has to be worried about, that Korn and Ezreal will have to really shine into this matchup for them to be able to take this into game 6.
That's the risk the Trace Esports has gotten them into in this series, moving around who will be able to carry the game. But in the previous game as well, 0711 piloted that Hecarim, having a very high KDA for him, and that was just a very blowout game. It's given that he has a high KDA based on the previous game. But going back as well, Hueba, yeah, he won't be having a carry performance in terms of the champion that he has. It won't be a hyper carry like, let's say, a Shyvana, like a Yone in the jungle. But this will allow him to have more gank paths, to have more initiation capabilities on this Nautilus. Yes, it's not the tankiest, but ooh, a large amount of damage at top side.
Yeah, a lot of damage, and Lee Sao is forced to retreat there. And this is pretty much how Gwen has been playing every single time, right? Level 2 is where it's at. It's very strong. You have the damage already, and you have defensive capabilities, and Camille really needs at level 3, level 5 to be able to really shine out from those engages, out from those fights. Unfortunately, EDG was just able to capitalize onto that advantage. Right now, Isao is on a back foot on Baron.
Yeah, and X-Zhang has just been really doing a great job in the top side of the map, really controlling his lane, even getting advantages against Lee Sao from games 2 onwards. And yeah, Gwen, as you mentioned, level 2 is her strength. She just needs to stack up her snip and then dashes in when she gets that second level. But mid lane,
Hueba now goes in. It's a CC onto you. Allah with a knock up onto attack, and that is amazing. And EDG lost their mid lane as first blood goes to Trace.
Step 1 has been done correctly here by Trace Esports. What we were talking about is that EDG feels like they have been taking control over the early game. Trace Esports is either been too passive or has failed in the early game. But with that kill in the mid lane, giving them first blood is good signs for Trace Esports.
Yeah, it's very good. It's Nautilus is strong coming into the early game. It's always this powerhouse coming into the support role consistently, and even into the jungle role as well. Level 1 to level 3 is really strong coming into Nautilus, and that will be another shutdown by Trace Esports going into their side. Well, not really shutdown, but it's a kill nevertheless, and 2 kills coming into the early matchup is a good sign for Trace.
And that's what we were talking about for Hueba. He has been put in these champions that you need to scale. You need to be a lot safer in the early game. You don't really have enough of initiation tools. And now he's been given a champion with a lot of ways to initiate fights. And that's what he's been doing. Ganking lanes, ganking the mid lane, giving that advantage over the core, ganking bot and sneaking his way into the brush. I love the observer work there as well. The camera work that were shown to us where he just hugged the wall as he was trying to get into the bush. And now advantages left and right for Trace Esports.
Not go to pursue. As standard play will not connect. The line will have a safer time there. But Hueba once again, they do not know. There's a ward there. So XGen has information.
Xiaozhang has been really good at these. Ooh, that almost hit him. If that hit him, that could have been another fight we see here at the top side of the map.
And Lee Sao in danger once more. The Ignite will take him down quite a bit. 0711, remember, he's just on the corner as well, going in for the Krogs. XGen locked out with Exit Ultimatum. There's no escape. And Trace Esports secures their 3rd kill in a game.
Yeah, Xiaozhang essentially just walking into the hook of the dogs. That's an anchor that you should always take a look at. And Hueba is really stepping up when he's needed the most here by Trace Esports. Already involved in the 3 kills, 100% kill participation for him so far, has been the anchor of his team and is now showing up on this Nautilus. We're about to reach the 5-minute mark, which we're going to be seeing these objectives come up. And with the advantage, with the momentum that Trace Esports has, they have to pick up the litter. They can choose what they go for. They go for the Herald, or they go for the Dragon. They can actually go for both if they want to, just because of the lead and momentum that they have at the moment.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate how EDG consistently overextends, especially coming in top side of the map. Actually, I already got information about the location of where Hueba was, and he still went through onto Lee Sao. Yes, Lee Sao was quite a bit of a low HP already, but remember, Hextech Ultimatum is there. Hueba is one of the strongest support champions, or generally is champions, strongest early game champions in the game at the moment. So EDG still has to respect that possibility. Right now, Rift Herald already secured. EDG's taking quite a bit to be able to take down the Ocean Drake. Calls the Forge God is already there as Hueba already walking through into the bot side of the map. 0711 is a target. Already ignited. Down low already, and 2 for 2 objectives taken down by Trace.
And they've also taken the mid lane turret. They just destroyed that with the Herald. Trace Esports. Oh my god.
Langui can't just do this. You already have information of where Trace Esports is at, but still, that overextension will net them so much more of a disadvantage.
Yeah, he was caught out, probably in a rotation in that tri-bush near their turret in the bot side of the map. Another kill going in favor of Trace Esports, and this is a markedly strong improvement coming from the past 3 games from Trace Esports. Strong early game from them so far, 4-0 in the kills. They have the first turret as well, almost a 3,000 gold lead for them, and Trace Esports is in a winning position at this point in time. EDG needs to figure out how to stop the bleeding, because with the tools that Trace Esports has, with how Hueba has been unlocked essentially in this game, you can just keep trying to force these fights against the EDG lineup.
Yeah, Hueba's amazing right now. I was able to control the early parts of that matchup. Once again, looking for another. As you look there on top side of the map, attack is on the horizon, along with Yusa on the vicinity as well. but opts to back away, will not go for the all in there as you already understood and know their location.
Now, yeah, actually, Hueba's on the ward right now. So far, EDG has been really good at this topside wards. They want to go for this fight. Hueba is there. He doesn't know that he's spotted.
0711 running through with the Zenith Blade as well. Locks in onto Hueba with a solar flare, but a flash will be able to save the quad bit. But 0711 catches up, and Korn has to use up the flash over the wall as well to return back to safety as Hueba is already gone for the count.
A great punish right there from EDG. Hueba overstayed a bit, not thinking that there would be a ward there in the bush. That he was staying at EDG, having full knowledge of where he was, capitalized on it, taking him down. And now 707 are getting caught out.
Bisao spotted, but 0711 in the same situation. And the 3v1, there's just no escape. 2 ultimates already casted as well by Trace Esports to just secure the kill.
Yeah, that's a mistake as well from 0711. He tried to go towards the bot side jungle, maybe going for some vision into the red buff, and also backing up X-Zhang on the Gwen, the bot side, maybe looking for a dive onto Camille, but it was Lisa who was actually inside the jungle, able to put him down, able to get the Hextech ultimatum to lock him down. And now it's gonna go back to the momentum here for Trace Esports. Earlier on with the kill on Hueba, I thought like EDG would be getting a bit more space, but with that kill, it just feels like Trace Esports can again suffocate the amount of resources that EDG would get in this map.
And look at the vision game coming from Trace Esports. They have a ward coming into the right quadrant jungle that gives them information onto the blue buff. And now 0711 starts off the fight with it on 7 Shadow, now stuck into the middle. Hueba is gone! Removed from Trace Esports. And once again, with a numbers disadvantage, they cannot go for the engage.
Yeah, EDG just answering back each time. Each time Trace Esports overextends. And that is also the disadvantage of building the first strike AP Nautilus. You don't have much tankiness compared to the traditional support or tank Nautilus. You're very squishy, even though you have a lot of the tools that would enable you to be a bit more tanky in these fights, especially the shield. Great onslaught of shadows right there from 0711 to start off this fight. And the thing is, even though there are tanky members in front from Trace Esports, there's X-Zhang, there's Zeri. Both of these players have a lot of damage to take down the tanks, especially the true damage coming from the Gwen.
Yeah, and that is the thing about Nautilus as well, going into the jungle. Expectedly, this will be an AP Nautilus. So if that happens, Nautilus is not going to be tanky. Yes, he deals a decent chunk of damage, but if he goes first into those team fights, he will just get melted. And that is something that EDG was able to capitalize on. 0711, as you have mentioned a while ago, right, going through with the onset of Shadow, got 2 members with those spears. It was such a perfect time for them to continue and go all in. Yeah. Right now, Ice Drake already up.
Yeah, Drake is up. Trace Esports is the one in the position, but EDG looks like they want to go for the contest.
Zenith Blade comes through, that Wobity CC coming into the backside. Solar Flare follow through onto attack as well, but remember, he's already so down low. And right now, with a call of the Forge God knocks upon 3. 0711 wants to answer back with counter engage. With the onset of Shadow, attack will fall down. But looking into the backside, it will be Korn and Hueba that has eyes on X-Jang. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
That's a 1-for-1 trade, but in terms of the health bars, Trace Esports is a lot healthier at this point in time. This dragon should be given away here to Trace Esports. EDG licking their wounds, getting a 1-for-1 that could have gone a lot worse for them. They were behind, but with some superb team fighting for them, they were able to at least get 1 kill away from Trace Esports. And with the momentum right now, Trace Esports also gets another turret for themselves.
Yeah, another turret, so that will give them a massive gold injection for the likes of Trace Esports. Currently in a 4K gold lead already.
Yeah, and just looking at this replay right here, it's gonna evolve into having 2 separate fights. I thought this was so dangerous here for EDG. The attack hitting a lot of members with the call of the Forge God, but it's just a long, protracted fight between these 2 teams, just trying to get them low enough to be able to finish out on these skills. Eventually, the Trace Esports was able to win it out. What they're seeing right there, the potential strength of the composition that EDG has. The Gwen and the Zeri, when left to their own devices, will be able to get the items that they need to deal the damage on the tank line on all of the members of Trace Esports.
Yeah, And in addition to that as well, remember Trace Esports already in a 4K gold lead, very strong coming into 12 minutes into the matchup. They are poised to be able to successfully gain this matchup for themselves. And there's just so much more gold potential that they can stack up. In addition to that, tier 1 turret coming in top side down as well.
Yeah. Top lane's down, 3-0 in turrets, and now Baron's being started here by Trace Esports. They want EDG to come into them.
4K HP remaining with a close to 4th gun, wants to deny it out from that, and right now, EDG has no access onto the Baron split with Lee Sao intact, doing so good of a job to zoning them away.
Yeah, that was a great take right there from Trace Esports. They didn't even think about engaging in the fight. They just straight out got the Baron for themselves.
Right now, 1v1, Korn going up against User, 7-11 catching up as well with a Hecarim. But with a Baron in favor for Trace Esports, Korn's not going to be an easy target.
Yeah, Korn's definitely not going to be an easy target, as the rest of Trace Esports is trying to help him there in the top side. With the Baron up right now, Trace Esports, they have an advantage in the siege on the turrets. But we did see as well, there was an exchange for EDG with the Gwen taking down the tower on the bot side. Xzhang, at least with the split push from this Gwen, has been keeping EDG afloat in terms of the gold.
In terms of the gold, 5K gold lead, or well, 4K gold lead already for Trace Esports, and that is going to be much more. That will balloon to probably 5K, 6K gold lead as well, with Baron buff already pushing onto those tier 2 turrets.
Yeah. 30% of Alone's HP did go away as well when he was hit by the depth charge by Hueba. We are currently see the damage coming out from this AP Nautilus in the jungle role for Hueba, and now Trace Esports with the Baron buff are continuing the siege.
Trace Esports very disciplined, not overextending themselves. Right now, overextension could really bite them in the back. Could be a knife into their backs as well. And EDG could always answer back to that. So Trace Esports still has that huge respect. Just clears out every single tier 2 turret, brings it to a 7K gold lead.
Yeah, they took out as much turrets as they can, as many structures as they can, with the amount of time that they had with the buff. But it's going to be pretty scary here for EDG, because there's another objective that's going to come up, which is going to be the Infernal Drake. It's going to come out soon, in about a minute, and EDG would need to fight that out, because if not, it's going to be Soul in favor for Trace Esports. And that's going to be a scary prospect here for EDG. EDG does have damage. They have the Gwen, they have the Jace, they have the Zeri. Each of these champions able to deal damage in their own way. The Jace has shown to be pretty effective when it comes to the poke. Xzhang as well on this Gwen, able to snip his way into the lineup of Trace Esports, but such a hard thing to do. It's such a tall task right now in what Trace Esports has. The Yone can just push them away. Lee Sao, the split push, can just threaten every side lane turret, at EDG right now needs to make a quick decision of where they want to put their focus in.
Yeah. And right now, what EDG is going for the right corner jungle is they want to deny the soul away from Trace Esports, given that Diffs will give much more of an advantage for Trace Esports to finish this game. Langui starts off this fight with his end plate onto Taxol. They're connected onto one. The Sun connected onto Yusa. There's 7-11 with the onto the shadows onto the backside, but Quavo's a tanky Nautilus this time around. They're still stacking the Fate Steel connected onto 3, and Korn coming into the backside disrupted EDG's possibility of winning it through. And EDG now at back 300 HP remaining. EDG will still be successful coming into this fight. Overall, the ace will be secured in trade for the soul.
Yes, Soul does go in favor of Trace Esports, but the 3 damage dealing champions of EDG are still alive. They have full control over the map right now. They can choose to where to go, and they have decided to go to the bot side to try to get more turrets. They will be able to at least get some structures, get some gold. Yes, the Soul has gone in favor of Trace Esports with a lot of gold infusion right now on the side of EDG.
Yeah, and I'm loving this. EDG going in
the end?
The bottom lane. EDG looking to end it. The Nexus is open.
It's over!
Can Weibo defend it? The answer is no. And EDG will secure the series, will secure the win against Trace.
Okay, that caught us by surprise, but EDG just had a quick call, taking advantage of the of the amount of minions in the bot side. As we mentioned, they still had 3 damage dealing members, and the first one who went down was Wei, but he was the only one who was able to try to defend. But after that, EDG able to take down the Nexus. They have secured their spot in the upper bracket finals.
Yeah, a 7k gold deficit? What is that? A Baron buff in favor for Trace? It doesn't matter. It's EDG that we're talking about. One team fight changed the whole game, changed the whole matchup. And once again, as you mentioned, right, these damage dealing champions was left open, was left on their lonesome by Trace Esports, and that just opened up a wild beast for EDG to go for those free hits.
Yeah, that was honestly those team fights were always felt like they were on the knife's edge. Like if you're watching these games and then thinking how to improve micro-wise the decisions they're making, it's great to watch some of these team fights, because some of the decisions that they were doing right there could really help in terms of like just trying to improve, because they were all playing at like the slivers of HP. We're really making full use of it. EDG, they were not in the best spot getting into that dragon fight, but they were able to claw themselves. They were able to get that bit of an advantage to have both Xiaozhang, Yo alone, alive, and win the game. Just go straight for the Nexus. And I don't know, man. EDG right now with this win against Trace Esports, they feel like they're the best team in this side of the playoffs.
They're the best. They're the best team coming into the regular stages as well, given how they beat Thunder Talk, given how they beat Trace Esports as well during the regular stages, wherein it was stated that they were unbeatable. It was EDG who did that, and coming into the playoffs, they carried that power here today.
Yeah. EDG, as you mentioned, right, they're the God Slayers. They're the ones who have taken down both Thunder Talk and Trace Esports, and they have shown it again here that wasn't a fluke. That wasn't the 2-0 there was not something that was by luck. It was essentially planned. They really played their hearts out, and now Trace Esports will be left to go towards the lower side of our bracket. It will be a longer road for them to be able to qualify into the finals of the WRLA Season 2. They're gonna have another chance. They're not gone in either way, but this is a time for them to figure things out, to further improve once again, to take down some of the teams down in the lower bracket.
And Alone's positioning, free hitting all throughout that team fight onto the Elder Dragon, won EDG the game.
I agree. In terms of Alone, his positioning, he was kind of far away in the start of the fight. He came in at the end, but it essentially was just enough space for him, and space that he left to be able to really dish out the damage by the end. I think for me, if I'm gonna VOD review this, when we VOD review this game, it's like, no, look at how Xiaozhang just survives. He's the Gwen. He's melee range. Essentially, he just keeps on in front of everyone. He's able to survive. And yeah, I mean, kudos to all of the individual players from EDG. They have really shown up here today.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, it was also how, like, despite how Crazy Esports, how Korn did like a 3-man fate field, it's still not is enough to beat EDG. Even if they got 7k gold lead, it's so massive. Edward Gaming is too good right now in their current state, and that won them onto the series 4-1.
Yeah, this is so far the quickest series we've had in the CN conference of our playoffs, as you see in the brackets right now. EDG did take down Trace Esports 4-1. They will be having their next match against KBG to determine who will be going into the finals. While on the lower side of the bracket, Trace Esports will be facing FPX to have another chance to get into our finals.
Yeah, definitely is. And it will be exciting to watch the lower bracket to see who's gonna come through on top. Because tomorrow, we're gonna look at Nova up against Thunder Talk.
Yeah,
it's not tomorrow. It's January 17th.
Yeah, and January 17th on Wednesday, we'll be having our next broadcast between Nova and Thunder Talk, and this is gonna be a huge matchup as well. Thunder Talk, we didn't expect them to lose to Capes Gaming yesterday, but Capes Gaming just proving themselves why they were the previous champions, and this is definitely another spicy matchup that we're gonna be seeing.
Yeah, definitely will be spicy, and next week will be crucial for every single team that will be playing in the playoffs, because that will determine who comes through into Wild Rift League Asia Season 2 Finals. But that is pretty much here today. It is EDG who won up against Trace Esports 4-1 that will make them proceed into the next stage onto the upper bracket. I'm Infinity, and this is Crazy Apple. That will be the end of today's matchups, but we have more next week. So do keep an eye on what's happening in Wild Rift League Asia Season 2 on the socials. Thank you very much, guys, and goodbye.